for the show is that we're live right now, and I'm gonna hit the intro button as soon as I'm done talking here. But we're gonna go through the book and talk about the book. There's nobody watching right now, so we're all in the clear. You ready to roll?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're already rolling. We're already live, baby.
You're not asking me if I'm ready to go live. You're informing me that we're going live.
That is correct.
Yeah, there you go. Now there's a little extra for the people that show up early.
I know. You guys here are watching. Shout out to the two of you that are on right now. We love each and every one.
That's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
I don't think they can hear anything.
Who is this DJ?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's like being in a club, Will. The music is blasted and not yelling in your ear.
You don't have to worry about impermanent loss. When really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's
I love
just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Our content cannot and does not contain crypto financial advice. The crypto financial advice information is provided for general information and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional advice. Accordingly, before taking any actions based upon...
Hey, you can read that one, though. This is not...
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, I think we should probably make that screen pause for a little bit longer because there's no fucking way anybody's going to be able to read that whole thing. Welcome.
That's the point. It's the legal disclaimer. Nobody reads that. Come on.
It is the legal disclaimer. You know how like you see on commercials and stuff where they're like, oh, and we told you so. That's why when you died of tuberculosis after taking our medications, we were covered because you entered into this agreement or whatever the hell. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this magical special DGen Roundtable Book Club number 67. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Tonight we're covering a book about negotiation, which this book is the book about negotiation for people who hate negotiation. This is the self-proclaimed book that will teach you how to deal better with people in all walks of life, your spouses, your friends, your coworkers, your bosses, your DGen Roundtable streamers that you're talking to, anybody who has something that you want. When you're talking to them and you're trying to get the thing that you want, that's essentially, like, boiled down to its core, that's a negotiation. So I really, really, really love this book. It's one of my favorites. It's written by Chris Voss, who is an FBI negotiator. He spent, I want to say, like 20 years in the FBI talking down bad guys into not killing hostages and getting them to come down in their money number demands and things of that nature. And this book is just really fantastic and really awesome. Like, everything in life is sales, everything in life is marketing. And when you're talking to someone else and they have something that you want and you're trying to get it from them, you're in a negotiation, whether you know it or not. So this book is great. I like if when we come to like the book club tier recommendations and whatever you call that, whenever we rank the books from S to A, B, C, D, whatever the hell, I think this one goes right up there at the fucking top because this book has helped me a lot in life. So anyways, that's what we're covering tonight. For those of you who have never seen us before, hello! My name is Will Stevenson. I'm an iron worker that travels around the States, but you guys don't care about that. You guys care about the fact that I talk cryptocurrency and self-improvement to assholes and degenerates such as yourselves. So welcome to the show tonight. I'm joined...
No. What they care about is that you talk technical analysis, detailed technical analysis of crypto markets. You were famous for that, I hear.
That is my that is actually the thing that I am very best at is charts and Bollinger Bands and RSIs, Fibonacci's, resistance. Wow. Look at me, MACD. I know all the words. Green candles, red candles. All of that stuff. That's the stuff that I'm the best at. But like all the things that I'm not the best at, such as legal analysis and macroeconomic stuff. That's the stuff that Mr. Zenith over here is really good at. And look at that. I actually remembered to point the opposite direction because you're on my camera left, but or you're on my camera right, but in real life I have to point to my left to make sure that I'm pointing at you over here on the camera. So I'm joined tonight by Mr. Zenith DI. Zenith DI. You guys can find him on Twitter and Instagram at Zenith DI. He's our legal and government analyst, and he's the one who actually started book club. So shout out to you, Zenith. This is I gotta say, bro, this is probably one of my favorite parts of DJ Roundtable is like not just the community and the meeting people, but the fact that we get to learn something new once a week is pretty fucking cool. And the book club pressure, it keeps
the book club pressure is real.
The book club pressure is real. So like every single week we're covering a new book. And I'm not gonna lie, bro. I almost always listen to or consume the book on the last day or 2 days of book club. So this is a book that and Zenith and I take turns each week choosing a new book or choosing a new thing to do to cover for book club. And generally speaking, Zenith picks things that are more economically focused and more financial or more history based. And then I tend to choose things that are more in the people world towards like sales and communication and things of that nature. But like it's a super great, fun, awesome time. We've had lots of people on book club. We've had, Mr. and Mrs. McGettit. We've had my brother Sam. We've had my mother. We've had Farmer Jay. We've had lots of people on book club. It's a great, fun, awesome time. Dr. Allen, yes. Oh man, shout out to Dr. Chen. He was not able to make tonight because he's got prior engagements. But we've had tons of people on book club, and it's super cool, super awesome. Stephen Bates, we've had authors on book club. It's a fantastic time, and
also,
I love it. And
our boy Johnny Chaos hopped on one time to tell us about fractional reserve banking and how it's coming to crypto potentially.
Dude,
it's a good 3-hour special right there.
I love it when everyone joins us. So tonight we're using the campfire the campfire background because I have not built a background for a 2-person book club. All that we've got for book club, if I go over here and I change our little brand thing, all that we've got for book club is we've got this. Oh no, there we go. Is with a panel special and some a host and whatnot, host and co-host. But the screen looks awfully empty over here when there's no one joining us. So when it's just the two of us, then I throw in the campfire stories background and we do it that way. So,
it works.
But it's a great time.
It works.
Super cool, super awesome. I fucking love it. And apparently you guys love it too because you just keep watching. I want to give a quick shout out before we start the show. I want to shout out your friend Sami because he shouted us out about the book club that we did last week, man. So we got a shout out and it's kind of funny because the way that it came about was as a matter of fact, Tam Tam was talking about us on her Twitter. She was like, "Oh my God, book club's the best," and that made a Twitter news aggregator thing. And then Sami was reading that Twitter news aggregator thing, and he was like, "Oh, shout out to the DJ Roundtable talking about basic economics and stuff. It's real fucking sexy information." And so I thought that was hilarious and awesome. So Sami has shouted us out a couple times for DJ Roundtable, but
Tam Tam is the real star here. I'm just throwing this out there. I think Tam Tam literally is the #1 most visible Pulsican hexagon that there is. She is just always on top of it, especially on social media. Super positive, super wide reach. She is just a good follow overall. And I think that's why Sami follows her and she follows us. And she may or may not have used my old meme account for my @ on Twitter, but I'm not mad because it's still cool to get a shout out. And I appreciate that she thinks of us and shows up every week. So thank you so much for spreading the good word, especially after the one book club that we get shouted out for is the one that I chose as like the heavy read, which is our 24-hour macroeconomics book. So I'm sure there was like a few people on Sami's video that went and clicked on it and they saw what we were talking about and they went, "Whoa!"
Dude, I was quite pleased with that. And I want to also give a shout out to MVS Crypto. So MVS Crypto is the guy that is the like the pulse chain news aggregator. He's the one that puts together all these like big huge things of all the pulse chain things going on, and he makes this big giant list of what happened throughout the week. So when we go through our Sunday news, I'll be sure to take you guys through the Sunday show and basically do the same thing that Sami does, where we talk about all the things that have happened in pulse chain news throughout the week. So that's what you guys can look forward to on this. Oh fuck, actually, damn, I'm gonna be driving this Sunday. Zenith, are you able to host Sunday's show?
Yeah, you know, Sunday.
I know that we normally don't do this live, but I
I
just realized right
also
now that I'm going to be physically like in a car.
You're good. I also have a bit of a spicy pop culture thing for the Sunday news segment. It was actually
let's hear
brought
it.
to me by a lady friend of mine. She was like, "Oh yeah, there's this Coldplay concert, and this random like CEO and his HR director were caught having an affair at it." And it turns out that the guy actually runs a crypto
That was
company. So
hilarious.
that's my tie-in.
Yes,
Yeah, she
yes,
told
dude.
me
Like
there was
I had seen that on Twitter as well.
Oh, you saw that one? Yeah, it's like it's a concert and they're doing like the panning of the audience and like doing like kind of like the couple cam thing, and they pull them up on the big
Jumbotron.
screen, the Jumbotron, and they immediately are just like, oh no, and then like split and try to like go away. And then the lead singer was like, well, somebody's having an affair, and he was correct.
Yep, he was correct. and like after a further deep dive, because I saw the same spicy thing. You know, guys, this is a little bit of a book club and campfire stories today that we're doing.
Yeah, sorry.
After they after the no, this is great, man. This is great. After they had pulled away and everything, more information came out. It turns out that the people next to him were also human resources folks, and so it was all one big company gathering and all one big spicy tamale. And so,
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
presumably multiple divorces have happened as a result of this thing, and you know, it's super funny and hilarious because it's like, I don't know, people try and go through life hiding shit, but we live in the world of cameras. We live in the world of there is no privacy anymore. So if you're gonna do something bad, just fucking own it, man. Just live up to it and be like, yeah, you caught me. Here we are. On the big jumbotron and figure it out, move the fuck on. But I thought that was hilarious as well. So, anyways, before we go too far, oh shit,
Hey, to close off
right
the point,
over there. Hang on,
we started off the point talking about Tam
Yes.
Tam. The reason we're talking about Tam Tam is I just want everybody to know she is, by the numbers, the person in the Hexagon community that has the most visibility and outreach that there is. So I know you might think, oh, she just does a lot of positivity stuff. I'm here to tell you, she has more reach than you. I don't care who you are. She has more reach than you. Like she's a superstar. I don't know what to tell you. She's absolute stud, just best there is. And we're very, very thankful that she appreciates the things that we do, and we appreciate her shouting us out.
Absolutely. And on the subject of shoutouts, it's time for chat motherfucking shoutouts, everyone's favorite part of the stream. And for those of you guys that are in the DGen Roundtable community, you guys know a little bit more about the chat shoutouts than the rest of the folks who are only on YouTube do, because Dr. Allen was so kind as to post some pictures of some things that have happened in the chat shoutout world. So shout out to everybody in the DGen Roundtable community. Make sure you guys go to t.me/DRT join now, or scan that little QR code at the bottom of the screen over there on the bottom right hand side. But yeah, fucking hop on in there. It's time for chat motherfucking shoutouts, where we shout out everyone that is so kind as to join us. And we're going to do a special shout out today. This is a shout out that we have never, ever done before. I want to shout out StreamYard, who says live viewer comments show up on StreamYard. This is an example. Click on a comment to show it on stream. So shout out to StreamYard for creating this wonderful, wonderful platform. I know that we always use them and we pay for them and we use YouTube as well, but we never say like, hey, StreamYard, thank you for what you do. Thank you for providing this excellent and awesome service for us. And you know, shout out to StreamYard. I know they're probably not watching right now, but you know who is watching is Mr. RH Max, who says this is a great motherfucking book. Shout out to you, RH Max. I had a fantastic time on the Sci-Vive panel for your Pulse X conference that you had going on earlier this week. That was freaking awesome. Love to see it, and I appreciate your support, homie. So good to see you, Mr. RH Max. We're also joined by my good friend in real life, Mr. Slide 180, who says, let's go, and also keep yelling. So I guess
he
that
caught
if
it.
we yell,
he caught the club talking while the music was blasting.
Yes, he did. So it's good to know that us yelling at each other during the intro music does actually work for comms and stuff. And I think he's making fun of us. So excellent. Good to see you, Mr. Slide 180. I'm going to see you on Sunday, good sir. I'm going to swing by and say hi. So shout out to my good friend Josh, Mr. Slide 180. Glad we could have you. And also Mr. Marcus 72, who says, what up, all? Good to see you, Mr. Marcus 72. Glad we could have you with us today. I have your envelope in my truck right over there, and I got to drive by the post office tomorrow. I'm going to drop off your mail, and I'm going to send you some motherfucking stickers. We're not doing a sticker giveaway tonight. We're probably not going to be doing a sticker giveaway for at least another 2 weeks, because I'm away from my shipping container, and so I've got all the mail that I need to send out. And so keep watching, guys, if y'all want to get some stickers in the near future. We're also joined, as you guys have seen earlier, by our Miss Tam Tam, who says, "Hello, my lovelies," gives us the
Yo.
little heart. And she doesn't realize that she's using your wrong Twitter account. Yes, Tam, if you take a look underneath Zenith's name over there, the correct way to tag Zenith on Twitter is at ZenithDI. Hexaco Space Force is an old Zenith account, and
I
we do
post
like
memes on
Hexaco
there every
Space
once
Force.
in a while. I gotta get back on that. Post some good crypto memes because I mean now's a great time for it. We're in the bull run, so
Bro, I do like the meme
flow.
channel, and I do. Excellent. I don't, and by the way, I want to apologize, Zenith. I don't know if it's my internet or yours that is out, but I'm getting choppy action and delays and things. So, folks at home, bear with us for the connectivity issues, but we're gonna get through this chat shoutouts. And also, Tam appreciates the very heartfelt words that we have shared. So, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you, Tam. You are the best, as Zenith has said, and thank
How
you
long
all
is
for
Tam?
watching us.
How
All
long
of you
is
guys that are watching us.
How long has she been following us? It's
Tam?
at least
Oh,
over a year,
man.
if not since the beginning. Like literally since the beginning.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I would say probably. I remember. I want to say she was popping into the comments somewhere around. It was about 6 months or so after the DGen roundtable had started. I want to say it was early 2024 or somewhere in the winter over there, as I want to say, because I remember she started shouting us out on Twitter a lot. That was what was going on there. So shout out to Tam, who's been with us since basically the beginning, because the first 6 months I don't count that as Degen roundtable stuff. We were just kind of flopping about, figuring our lives out. We were nowhere near the well-oiled machine that we are nowadays. But shout out to Tam Tam, who found us when we were you know in our early up and coming stage, and shit was just starting to get good, just starting to get awesome. So I guess whatever we're doing is working. So that's what we've got going on. And speaking of things that we've got going on, we've got a book that we want to cover that I have not talked at all about. So for those of you guys who have never heard of Never Split the Difference, it's basically it's a book about negotiation. And I've sort of kind of explained this a little bit, but essentially the book teaches you to avoid compromises. That's one of the big themes in the book, is because nobody wins in a compromise. When you have a wife and a husband, and they want to go out in town, and the wife wants the husband to wear brown shoes, and the husband wants to wear black shoes, the compromise is you wear one brown shoe and one black shoe, and nobody's happy in that scenario. So it has to be one person, like winner takes all. And that's the example that he gives in the book. But it's basically about how to get the other person onto your side in any sort of thing that you're doing, in any sort of talk that you're having, in any sort of relationship that you're trying to maintain, in any sort of position where your counterpart or your prospect, depending on what terminology you want to use, has something that you want, and you're trying to influence them to change their behavior. What this requires is you to remove your own ego from the entire game, and you need to focus entirely on the other person. So I'll get into a quick little summary before I just start rambling and rambling. But basically, former FBI hostage negotiator reveals negotiation tactics that work in real life and death situations and how you can use them in everyday life. Never Split the Difference replaces bland compromise with tactical empathy and psychological strategies to actually get what you want. The reason that it matters is that most of life is negotiation, whether you're buying a car, asking for a raise, or dealing with family problems. Chris Voss's techniques will teach you to listen better, to understand deeper, and to actually have an influence on the outcome, which makes you more effective in both personal and professional relationships. So there's 10 summaries to this book. I'll just kind of quickly go over them, right? Chapter 1 is about new rules. It's about like traditional negotiation methods that fail under real life pressure. And he talks about a lot of the stuff that happened when he was in the FBI, and they were using real life practical scenarios to come up with all these praxeologies. Chapter 2 is about being a mirror, and it talks about how you have to actually actively listen and mirror your counterpart or your prospect in order to build a connection and uncover hidden information. Chapter 3 is about not not don't try and feel your counterpart's pain. Try and label it. Use tactical empathy to label their emotions in order to diffuse tension and gain trust. So you don't want to say like you want to avoid things that are like I am you. You want to say like I hear you. I value the things that you're saying. I understand and comprehend and validate the position that you have. Chapter 4 is about basically staying away from yes and learning that in order to actually get a good negotiation going, you have to get your counterpart to say no. Yes is there's three different types of yeses, and we'll cover that later, but there's only one type of no. And what no actually does is no empowers the person that's saying it. So if you want the person that you're talking to feel powerful, to feel like they're in charge of themselves, to feel like they actually know what's where their life is going and what the decision they're making are and how that's valuable, you actually need to get them to say no, because it's a better thing for people to do. So like instead of saying like, hey Zenith, you like chocolate ice cream, right? And then Zenith obviously says yes because Zenith loves ice cream. Instead of saying that, it's like, Zenith, you hate chocolate ice cream? And then you would say, no, I don't hate chocolate ice cream. And that gets you to be like, no, I'm in charge. You don't get to determine things that I say. It makes you feel better. And it puts me in a position where like I can like where Zenith feels like he has power over me, even though I'm the one that's leading the discussion. So that's what that chapter is about. Chapter 5 is about triggering the two words that transform any negotiation. The two keywords obviously being "that's right." So you essentially want the other side to know that you understand what they're saying and that you can communicate it back to them. So if you can get somebody else to say, "Well, that's right," then that means that they feel validated and they feel like they're being heard. Everyone's familiar with the feeling of what it's like to talk to a brick wall, talking to somebody that's not listening to you, that's not paying attention to anything that you're saying. If you send a message, hey, XYZ to somebody, and then they go off talking about ABC, or they go off talking about their own life, or they go on talking about any other thing, then it's like, okay, you haven't understood and heard my message. But if you send a message to them and then they're like, oh, wow, this, that, and the other exact same message sent back to you, but in their own words, and then you're just like, oh shit, they're actually fucking listening to me. That's fucking right, bro. Then that gives the person on the other side feelings of or excuse me, it gives the counterpart feelings of, hey, this person actually cares and this person's actually invested in this conversation, and it disarms the counterpart. So there you go.
Will, sorry to
Chapter
interrupt,
6.
but have
Go
you
ahead.
ever talked to a brick wall before?
Oh, many
Literally?
times. Many times.
Really?
Dude,
You
yeah,
you
literal brick
reminded
wall.
me you reminded me of an old military thing. So back when I went through academy basic training, there was a segment where my company mates and I literally had to yell or sound off the academy mission statement at a brick wall while everyone else was waiting in the medical clinic. And I remember I finished up with my evaluation and I went out to my cadre who were there, and I was like, "Sir, where do you want me?"
Explain what a cadre is for the folks at home who don't understand.
It is the people in charge
know
of training you. It is your superiors that are your trainers, effectively. Think of just like drill sergeant for a basic explanation. And I said, "Where do you want me?" And then the two of them, I will never forget. It was Bobby. I'll just say it was Bobby and Ryan, and they both like they're kind of funny dudes in real life, but they both like looked at each other and they looked at me and they leaned forward in their chairs and looked out the glass door, and I just saw the rest of my company standing in front of a brick wall like 6 inches away, just yelling at it. And I just looked at them and I sighed and I went, "Yes, sir." And then I walked out and joined them, and we yelled at a brick wall for 30 minutes.
Now, your instructors at the academy, are they officers or are they enlisted?
They're cadets, actually. So it's your junior class cadets training the incoming cadets, and then the seniors are in charge of those guys. So it's kind of the idea that you learn to be a trainer and then you learn to organize people. So that's how it works. Sorry to interrupt, but you
No, that's very appropriate.
It was like the meme of like the synapses firing, and I was like, oh my god, I remember this. It was so dumb, but now I look back and it's hilarious.
Bro, all of the stuff that you do in the military is like during the like first enter in getting accommodated to what is military life. It's all just compliance training. It's all like, will you do this? Will you do this dumb thing? And sometimes the things are really dumb. Like, hey, climb into this washing machine. Or like, in the officer world, yell at a brick wall. Right. The enlisted and the officer have two different lives,
But, hey, I'll have you know, So when you get trained to be the cadre, so your junior year, the summer of your junior year, they actually brought in the actual drill sergeants from enlisted boot camp, and those were the people that trained us by putting us through boot camp. So it was a very small segment of it, but for like 2 weeks. But you learned how to be a drill sergeant by drill sergeants yelling at you after you already done it before. So I'm just saying.
The officer world is a little bit different than the enlisted world.
That it is, but that's neither here nor there. I believe we were on the chapter 6 summary, good sir.
Yes, talking about yelling at brick walls. I just want to say that I have mopped concrete outside in the rain. I have picked up things that don't exist. I have picked up invisible trash that exists in the grass. You know, I have oh man, what is Josh? You're gonna have to help me out here, Mr. Slide 180. Put in the comments some of the dumb shit that you remember us doing when we were fucking boots fresh into the fleet. But yeah,
you ever tried to revive someone's cover that fell off, and the only way to bring it back to life was to perform CPR in a hat?
Oh my god, no, I've not done that. That's a fun one. That sounds pretty good. Oh my god. Wow.
I'm sorry, I'm dying over here.
Okay, we're gonna get back to the book though, because we're having way too much fun, and this is a no fun allowed zone. All right, we're in book. This is serious stuff. So, oh man, so the point is, you want to get people to feel like they're not talking to a brick wall. You want them to feel like they're talking to a thing that understands what they're saying, repeats it back to them. Basically, just like what it boils down to at its core is when you're talking to a brick wall, you're talking to somebody that doesn't respect you and is not paying attention to you. They're thinking about themselves, they're not thinking about you. So when they keep talking about their talking points, they're not on your team, they're on their team. When you talk to someone who repeats your talking points back to you and offers some sort of insight to it, or offers some sort of different interpretation to it, or basically just like shows you that they're actively listening to what you're doing, then they're saying, "Hey, I'm on your team," and it makes them feel better. So that's the whole point of chapter 5 is to get people to say, to when you're the negotiator and you're talking to your counterpart, you want your counterpart to feel like to feel like you, the negotiator, is on his team or her team. You don't want, because the way that you work with people is you work with them. You don't work against people in order to work with. Anyways, all that to say, that's a whole bunch of stuff. Chapter 6 is about bending their reality, which is where you use calibrated questions and deadlines to reshape how your counterpart views their opinions. There's a lot of specific stuff in there, and we'll probably touch on that if we have some time. But it's basically you ask them questions that lead them down the road to where you want to go. Negotiating is a lot like the movie Inception. If you guys have not seen Inception, I highly recommend you go watch it, because it's all about planting ideas in your counterpart's head without them knowing that you're the one planting the ideas. You're leading them down a path. It's like you're an invisible mentor that is shaping the path before them as they walk down the trail, and they don't know who's the one directing the path. That's the whole point of learning to be a good negotiator and just learning to be a good leader in general. Chapter 7 is about the illusion of control. So you want to let them feel like they're in charge by asking how and what questions while steering the negotiation. So specifically using the words how and what is way more useful than asking why. Asking the literal word how and the literal word what are infinitely more powerful at getting your opponent to feel like you're on his team than if you ask the word why. If someone says, "Hey, I do X, Y, and Z thing," and then you say why, that is a like, "Hey, what's the word? You must qualify to my standards." But if you ask what, then it's a question of information. If you ask how, it's like, "I'm looking to learn, I'm looking to gain information." If you ask why, then it's like, "I don't believe in the things that you're doing. You must do the things that I want in order for me to buy into what you're talking about. You have to first like pass my snuff test." So one of the things I would encourage you guys to do at home is try to avoid why questions and instead find a way to reshape them with a what question. So if Zenith says like, "Hey, I like doing my power washing while I'm holding a cheeseburger in my right hand," instead of me saying, "Why do you do that?" Which at what point I'm saying like, "Hey Zenith, you don't meet my standard. You need to explain yourself so that way I understand." Instead, you can say like, "Oh, what makes you hold the cheeseburger? What or that's interesting. What is the reason that there's a cheeseburger in the left hand while you're power washing? Or like, how are you supposed to power wash while you're holding a cheeseburger? All of these questions have a different vibe, have a different feel to them in the English language than the word why does. The word why is very confrontational. The word why is very accusational, and it's about you fall into my world. Whereas what is like, oh, I'm the student, you're the teacher, you have information that I want, and you're in the powerful position. So that's the reason that why that's the reason that a person would use how and what questions as opposed to why questions. It's very similar to in the Sci-Fi book where we've talked about where Richard Hart talks about it's much more powerful to use the word and instead of using the word but. If I say I ate a whole bunch of cookies, but I'm allergic to sugar, is a lot more accusational and a lot more negative feeling than like I ate a whole bunch of cookies and I'm allergic to sugar. Like it's just a whole different feel to it. So, anyways, that's what that chapter is all about: is using how and what questions instead of why questions, and it generates the illusion of control in the in your counterpart. Chapter 8 is about the guarantee of execution, which is it's about like nailing down real commitments by asking proof of like questions like how will we know and stuff of that. Um, excuse me. Chapter 9 is about hard bargains. So it's about learning the art of tactical bargaining using the Ackerman model, which is about you lowball first and then you incrementally increase your offers. So this is more about like negotiating price stuff and negotiating like time stuff. So this is more useful for like if you're going to buy a new car or if you're going to go to a Middle Eastern market where like everyone likes to haggle and everyone likes to do things. There's a lot more information in chapter 9 about that stuff. And then chapter 10 is about finding the black swan. So we talk oftentimes in cryptocurrency about what is a black swan event. A black swan event is most of the swans you see in the world are white. Pretty much everything that you do all the time is the norm. A black swan is like, holy shit, this is the thing that changes everything. When you're a negotiator and you're trying to find a happy place in between two spots, the way that you can make the biggest difference is you try and find what is the black swan information that everyone else would be missing right now. It's going to get me the place to where I need to go. So it's about like discovering hidden unknowns that can basically dramatically shift the negotiation into your favor. And those are the 10 general parts of the book, or those are the 10 chapters of the book. Super fun, awesome book. It's about 4 hours on Audible. Again, highly recommend that you guys listen to it. But that's the summary of the book, in about 20 minutes or less. So that's what we've got. Zenith, before we dive into the questions and anything, is there something that stood out to you the most in the book? Is there a particular part that you liked best or that you want to talk about specifically before I start diving into some of these questions that I've generated?
Yeah, there were a few parts that stood out to me. Overall,
okay.
I thought this was...
Okay.
I thought this was an interesting will book because the guy actually talks about emotions a lot, and you are not... I've known you for a long time now. You're a good friend of mine, and I would not define you as someone who particularly like tries to make emotional arguments, but this is your favorite book. And this guy really, one of the big arguments he makes is that when you're trying to do negotiating, you want to not necessarily appeal to emotion, but he describes it as labeling emotions, which is you want to identify emotions that the opposite party is feeling and be able to put a label on it in a way that you can later like reference it. So I thought that was an interesting part. But the other major points of the book for me, not just that, it's the labeling section in particular, because when he talks about the kind of the loop that you go through here, which is that you want to listen, you want to label, you want to summarize, and then you kind of want to get to your ask is what he talks about. I know it's a poor definition because he talks about a loop with 5, and I definitely forgot one, but the major points of the book for me that stood out were he talks about there's different voices that you can use when it comes to negotiating with people. He describes it as you can have the late night FM DJ radio voice. You can have the sing-song happy voice where you're physically smiling on the other end of the phone, and the person listening can be like, I can hear that this person is smiling. And then lastly is the direct or assertive voice. And he describes the different ways you use these in particular situations. I think one of the largest points of the book is the idea that no is not an end, but no is actually the beginning of negotiation. Because he talks about in sales, a lot of people refer to the idea that you want people to say yes, 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 yes before you get to the sales pitch at the end, versus he actually establishes an opposite position, which is that when you get people to say no, what you're doing is when someone says no, they establish a place of security amongst themselves. So that way they feel good about themselves and you can proceed with that feeling of comfort and security. And then ultimately you can even use it to drive people to take action about certain things. And then the Ackerman model is something that I would imagine like people that have looked into negotiating and sales tactics before have heard the idea of the Ackerman model. But this one is actually a specific dedicated chapter to explaining what the Ackerman model is. And that's an important one as well. But overall, I would definitely put this book into the sales category, which I think is very much a will idea, if you will, or a will pick for a book. So I get why you like this one. I think some of the ways that the guy goes about it is a bit different than what I was expecting. But overall, it's a fun book because it's like half, I'm not going to call it like buddy cop, but it's like solo lone wolf cop out there as the negotiator doing his thing in the world, the nitty gritty world of crime that he has to face down himself with all these terrorists, these hostage takers. And he works for the FBI and he's a hardened dude that drinks whiskey in the morning and spits piss and vinegar. And it's like, I don't know, that kind of thing. But I'm just saying the other half of it is like the actual psychological effects of it, where you actually break it down and go, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. Here's why each of these are in the order that there are.
Yep. The thing I want to touch on real quick is he actually talks about it's good to have helpful little minions listening in on the calls with you so that they can listen to things that you're not paying attention to. When you're the only person on the call with the terrorists or the counterparts, whatever you want to call them, then you're only thinking like primary driver of the thing, whatever the hell, and you might miss out on background information. And so one of the things that he suggests is like actually complete opposite of the lone wolf thing is like have little minions there to help you out. So that way they can pay attention to stuff that you're totally fucking missing and blanking on because you're on fucking, horse driving and running straight down the racetrack mode and you miss the fucking the caltrops on the side of the road or whatever the hell. So
exactly. You're entirely correct. I think one of the specific examples he gives for that one is that there was a hostage negotiation that he was doing and he had like 4 people around him. He was literally just the guy on the phone having the conversation. There's another dedicated person that was thinking about like the logistics of whatever the person is asking for. There's another guy that was like purely listening to like the tone. And there was another guy that was listening for like background clues about like what else is going on, like on the phone that is not the conversation, but like everything else that I can hear. So that was a cool part where he's like, the reason he talks about it is that they understand that you as an individual have your own perspective and lens on how you look at things. So you or me as an individual, when we hear a conversation, we hear what we want to hear or what we're used to hearing or what we're used to looking for in particular. So if you can take the team and you divide them into people that are each looking for different things, you can build a more holistic and all-encompassing picture of what exactly is going on over there outside of just the pure conversation. And like someone asked for a getaway vehicle and $300,000 in cash. It's like, okay, like why were they asking for this? How do they sound? What else do you hear in the background? That kind of stuff. That was a cool aspect. And I forgot one other thing. A very important topic that the author talks about is the idea of mirroring.
Oh, I thought you were going to go on. Damn it. Hang on. I was in the middle of typing. That is
a whole topic to talk about. It is the idea of mirroring is that when you are talking to someone else, what you can do is act as a mirror for the other person. So if they ask you a certain question, you pretty much just kind of like repeat it back to them with upwards inflection at the end to make it sound like a question and like probe their interest. And what that does is it engages the other person to elaborate further. It's coaxing more information out of the other party that they are not trying to share in the first place that you can get to. That concept really ties into a lot of what goes on in the rest of the book. I think it's chapter 2 that he talks about mirroring. And the idea of mirroring is that you are trying to get the other party to give additional information in whatever way it is, whether you want like literally more information about what they're asking for, or you are hoping that they kind of give you more information than they were trying to.
Like more information than they were trying to?
Exactly. Or sorry, to use a different idea from the book, I look at you and I say, that's right.
Ah, there we go. See, I just mirrored you, and you just did that. That's right. Very good. Very clever. I was hoping to trap you up. Man, I thought for sure that you would end on one of those like more like sentence that would allow you to elaborate if I repeated it with like upwards
Yeah.
inflection. But I think this is a point in the book that he touches on that a lot of people miss out on in real life, and inflection is very important as opposed to inflection is very important. Like there's ways that people can say their sentences that either is like this is definitive the way that things are, or I'm asking you a question and I'm trying to get you to repeat yourself. One of the things that I pay attention to a lot, subconsciously and consciously, when I'm communicating with a person is how are they using inflection? Are they trying to get me to respond, or are they trying to make a definitive statement? And this is where the whole, the DJ radio voice or the sing song having fun like smiling voice, this is believe it or not, this is something that I actively use when I'm podcasting. Right now, I'm talking in assertive and dominance voice. I'm making a statement. I'm talking about things that there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm telling you things that are true. And then when I'm having fun with people, when I'm, like when I'm in a more jolly mode, it's my voice will go up and it'll go down, and then we'll have fun and then la di da, and it invites response. But when I'm in serious mode and I'm talking about something, then there is only downwards inflection at the end of every word or every other word or at the end of every sentence. But like sometimes we have fun and we like to raise our voices up and things. So this is something that I encourage everybody to try and do. When you're talking to California girls, you'll notice that everything they say has upwards inflection, like it's all a question. And then when you're talking to like assertive people that are subject matter experts, they'll take their fingers and they'll do this. I don't know. This is another thing. It's like you're talking to someone who knows what he's talking about when they do this. This is something that I learned from my mother. Shout out to Christine Stevenson. She was telling me at one of the conferences that she went to for talking about tax preparation and how to avoid trouble with the IRS and things like that. She was speaking to a whole like auditorium full of people, and she said the moment that she went like this, all of the movement in the auditorium like stopped, and people started like paying very close attention to the things that she was saying. And it's very interesting when you talk like this with a position of authority. There's a lot of cool, awesome, subtle things that you can do with body language, and a lot of things that you can do with inflection. It will help you become a better orator. That'll help you become a better negotiator, be better with people, because all of it boils down to our subconscious brain and our conscious brain and how we process all of this information. It's all super awesome and fun stuff, and I love delving into this. And I could go on with this for days. Fucking Large has noticed. Well done on the mirror rig, Will. Yes, there you go, broski. That was the entire point. Shout out to Large who has joined us, and also shout out to Funkmaster Hex. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good to see you, Mr. Funkmaster Hex. More than a couple of 5 p.m. cocktails at work today. And Mr. Large wants to know, what's up, D-Gens? Good to see you, amigos. Welcome.
Yeah.
Glad that we have
Before we get too far away to it, or away from it, I think that you had a very good point there, which is that body language matters a lot in how you deal with conversation and how you do inflection. For a quick synopsis of this, Homath actually just released a video about this recently, where he talked about like people on TikTok, talking about how like a lot of women are on TikTok and they're using what he called bird hands, and they said it's like pointing at the camera, and he said that like the point of the bird hands is that it's conveying to the audience that like you should listen to me, like you need to do this, as opposed to other things, which is like the open palms inflection of like come on, like the why would I do this, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, I don't remember anything in the book that talked about physical gestures, if you will, but it is another half of this entire idea that is very much looking into. And for one of the most famous examples of this is that back in the 1960s, there was a debate between Nixon and Kennedy that was broadcast on radio and television, and they polled the audiences afterwards about who won the debate. And there was a very big split between the radio audience and the TV audience. The radio audience actually thought that Nixon won the debate because of the way that he sounded and the arguments, the literal logical arguments that he made for a lot of the questions. But when you ask Kennedy about or when they polled the audience about the TV performance, Kennedy was the clear winner. The reason for that being that the presence on stage, the physical look, the actual gestures that he made. This was a pivotal moment in history because this was when they had one of the first televised TV debates, but it was also simulcasted on radio. Because it was one of the first TV debates, they didn't have a lot of the audio, technical, visual stuff set up. So the lights on stage were very bright and very warm. So what you saw was that Kennedy looked very calm and collected and used a lot of like good body language to really open up to the audience and allow them to be more interested in his arguments, as opposed to Nixon, who was like literally sweating bullets and looked a little more flushed. So it looked like a person who was calm and collected and confident versus a guy that looked like he may or may not be having a heat stroke. Versus on the radio, you heard something different because you didn't have that visual piece. You only had the audio. This is one of the examples of those. So, shoot, I want to say it was Bill Clinton, like his famous move that he was known for when it comes to the gesturing. He did the elevator button push. When he had a good point, he would kind of do like this with his hand. It was like the fist with the thumb on top, not like straight thumbs up, but the fist with the thumb on top, and he'd push it forward as if he was pushing an elevator button. So that was like a subconscious signal to the audience. This is the point. This is what we're doing here. That kind of thing. So
think about. Sorry. Continue your thought.
No, that's pretty much the end of it. So the idea here is that, looking from our author, he was a hostage negotiator. The way that you do that is you negotiate on the phone. You don't negotiate in person. He even talks about, like, in some of the scenarios, one of the people who's trying to negotiate was only comfortable with like a robot delivering things to and from the building when they're doing negotiation, like zero human interaction, that kind of stuff. So just understand that the approach that the author takes to this, his experience is based primarily on the phone stuff. So if you're a telemarketer, this is exactly for you. Like, this is prime audience, boom. But if you're an in-person sales kind of guy, then there's another aspect to this that you might want to go look at. And this is not exactly like the manual or the Bible for you. It's a very good base, but it's not going to be everything.
I want to pull up first. Shout out to Moondog, who has joined us. Love and light, right back to you, Mr. Moondog. Glad that we can have you with us. And also a point from Arceus. Arceus says, at the debate, Kennedy accepted face powder as one should under TV lights. Nixon was like, men don't wear powder, and thus looked sweaty and shady. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into being a public facing person. So like right now, I have to be very, aware of the fact that there's freaking sunlight in my eyes and what that's going to do to how I look on camera. And actually, I should probably pull this shade down. I'm in a camper right now that I'm normally not streaming from. So like, look, there we go. I can change my background almost immediately. We have a whole lot more ability to interact with and change our online camera persona. Yeah. So like if I open up Twitter, for instance, because Twitter, I have a blacked off background, my face will turn darker because my computer screen will be like focused less on me. There's a lot of things that we keep in mind nowadays that they didn't know back in the day when they were first doing TV stuff. So shout out to Arceus with that cool little bit of information. And it's funny how, just a very small thing can change an entire public opinion. And this, like, kind of gets us thinking about like, oh wow, what's the value of voting? We can change our entire mind based on some lights and whether someone puts powder on their face, whether they're going to be the president of the United States for 4 motherfucking years, based on if they put some shit on their face or not, or whether they sound confident on the radio or they look confident in real life. It's all just a big popularity game. But that's neither here nor there. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because that will take us a long way away from where we have.
You don't want to talk about the history of stage makeup and plays and productions since going back to the Greek times?
I'm much more interested in the stuff that we're covering with this book club, because like the DJ radio voice, the sing-songy voice, the direct and assertive voice, that's very realistic, and people can learn to do that pretty damn quick. You don't know if you're going to be on camera. You don't know if you need to bring face powder with you everywhere you go. I honestly don't even know what the Ackerman model is. I was trying to remember. I had to ask ChatGPT what the Ackerman model was. But like all the stuff in this book is freaking phenomenal and freaking awesome. Again, guys, it's only 4 hours. So please, 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 for the love of God, go listen to it. And you shouldn't just listen to it because I'm asking you to. You should go listen to it because it's awesome and because I do a good job selling it. So the way that we're going to do a good job selling it is I'm going to talk about it by going to my Never Split the Difference thing and looking up the questions that I have. So for the folks at home, This question is for you guys. This question is for y'all to put in the chats. Is there ever a time that you felt listened to, and what did the other person do in order to make you feel heard? This is the question for you guys. You don't have to have read the book to understand this, but this is something I want you guys to think about as you're in the audience, as you're listening to us do this podcast. Are there people that you feel better talking to because you think that they listen to you, or because they actually listen to you, or whatever, whether you think they do or they actually do? The important point is, do you get that feeling? Do you get that that validation from the other person that you're talking to? Think of the people that validate what you're saying. Think of the people that respond to your thoughts, and think about the people that ignore you. Think about the people that give you canned responses. Think about all of that stuff. um and my question to you, Mr. Zenith, was: is there a tactic that you got from the book that you think that you already use naturally without even knowing it? Is there things that you found as you were reading this book, you're like, oh shit, I already do that? Was there anything in there?
There were certain things that are subconscious, and there are certain things that I've learned elsewhere, and I saw also replicated here. So for one of them, the subconscious thing is the idea of like the sing-song voice, or the trying to be like pleasant to someone you're asking things from. So it's a very natural human reaction, which is like, if you're like, think back to when you're a child and you're asking your parents for permission to do things. You kind of did so in like a coy, slightly shy way to make them take pity on you and hope that you would
Mommy,
say yes.
can I
Exactly.
have a cookie?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And then the other one is more of a reference to the Ackerman model, which is the Ackerman model is an idea for like negotiating, or if you want to be specific, you could use it specifically for like haggling over prices in particular. One of the things that we've discussed previously is that the idea of, if you're negotiating, you kind of want to like offset like way too high on your side, where it's like you're in a job interview and asks the employer asks like, hey, we'd love to have you. What kind of a salary were you expecting? You look at them and be like, well, $1 million is pretty good, even though and they know that, yeah, you're not getting paid $1 million for whatever you're doing. But it's like that half joke, but you're just like, ha 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 ha, that number is so high. It gets you like subconsciously thinking about that very high number, and then from there you can more work within the realms of reality, that kind of thing.
There's a really great point from Robert Cialdini's book Persuasion, which is another one that we'll cover eventually on Book Club, where it says that exact thing is, when you're talking to someone, if you want $100,000 number and you say, look, it's not going to cost $1 million, but it is going to cost 100,000. Or like you say, you start off with an absurd thing and then you bring them down, you walk them back. It's like, look, my services are expensive, right? Should I be charging $1 million? Probably not. But I do charge 100 grand. So it's like you set them up with this like absurdly high number, and then you bring it back down, which is what the Ackerman model is. I did read up on it while you were talking there, Zenith. And it's basically, for the folks at home who didn't read the book or aren't aware of the Ackerman model, it's the first thing you do is you find out what's the number that you actually want, right? And then you move to 65% of that. If you're on the bottom half of the negotiation, then you guess low, and if you're on the top half of the negotiation, it's 165%, right? So it's like, if I want to sell it for 100 grand and the guy wants to buy it for whatever the hell he wants to buy it, but he doesn't want to buy it for 100, I say, look, I want to sell it to you for 165. And then you walk it down and you make these concessions. You do basically a 3-tiered step, and then the third time is what your actual target number. And you don't say the actual number. You don't say 100 grand, because things that end in zeros sound like placeholders. You say something like, look, I want $101,000.69, because that's like my bare minimum price. When you start like putting it down to like decimal units, when you label each and every single decimal point with a specific value, it sounds like you've actually done some calculations, and you're really, really, really trying to squeeze the maximum amount of not squeeze. You're really trying to say, like,
precise.
Being precise, which is the point of being precise, is that it says, hey, I've done calculations, I've done work to get to this number. So if you give me a number other than my work, then you're saying that my work is not valuable. And generally, people on the opposite side of the negotiation table, if they're any sort of calibrated human being, they're not going to say the work you've done is not valuable. Fuck you. I'm giving you 100,000 even. You know, it's like they're gonna be like, all right, I'll do your $101,495.69. You know, they will meet up the fluff just because to be an agreeable type of person. So that's the Ackerman model. Is you start X, Y, and Z percentage higher or X, Y, and Z percentage lower than your target, depending on what side of the negotiation you're on. And then you in 3 incremental steps get to the actual point. And then when you get to the actual point, you want to use an exact number, not a rounded number, not something that like ends in a 0 or just like a nice easy thing to say, like $95,000. You don't want to say 95.
Yeah.
You want to say 94, 96. Fuck, no, that's not right. 94, 960.23 or something, right? You use specific numbers. So, anyways, that's the Ackerman model. So,
the example that the author actually gives for this specific model is that I remember he talked about a hostage negotiation where the hostage or the kidnappers, they wanted like $300,000.
Yeah,
and then the author and his side of the team were like, yeah, no. What about what if we offered them $5,000? Would that be crazy? And you're like, 300,000 to 5,000. Yeah, it sounds a little bit crazy. Well, the way that he goes about it is he used some tactics from the beginning, which is they asked him like, hey, we want $300,000 for this person's return safely. And the person was like, how do you expect me to get that money? Like, I can't do that. And then
how
they
am I
eventually
supposed to do that?
Exactly. And then they got actually to the numbers section. Exactly. The open-ended, the directed, but open-ended questions. We'll get into that in a bit later. But I remember he said that they first countered with like $3,000. And then eventually they watched the hostage takers like lower the number. They're like, all right, what about 100,000? They're like, I got like 3,000 I could give you. And they're like, no, like 50,000, 25,000. And then it got to the point where the guy was like, yeah, how about like $4,953 or something. And they're like, all right, no, 10,000. You can get us 10,000. He's like, how about 4,950 some odd? And I give you a boombox. And they're like,
yeah,
whatever, keep the boombox. We'll take it. And it was like, that is how you go from $300,000 to sub 5,000. It was wild.
Ooh. Quick little caveat, and I remember that was the negotiation with the Haitian prisoner takers and whatnot. We've got a comment from Mr. Moondog here. I had the chance to listen to Chris Voss in person a few years back when a real estate investor I know with over 2,000 deals under his belt paid for him to come speak. I went to a Hex conference instead. This is Chris Voss.
Very based.
So there you go. Good decision or bad decision. I don't know. I am happy with your decision, Mr. Moondog. I'm glad that you went to a Hex conference instead of Chris Voss. Although, by the way, guys, you guys can check out Chris Voss. I've posted his Instagram details in our little DGen Roundtable book club. You guys can find him at Instagram.com/the FBI Negotiator. That's where all of his socials, or that's where a lot of his posts and everything that he talks about can be found. I'll go ahead and post it up in the chats right here. Bring it up for you guys. If y'all want to check out what Chris Voss talks about, it's basically all stuff from his book, all the principles, all the everything. Like he literally speaks about it. He goes on podcasts, he goes on conferences, he goes and does his workshops. He owns a company called Black Swan, specifically named because he tries to find Black Swan events and things. But yeah, shout out to Chris Voss. That's where you can find his stuff, his FBI Negotiator Instagram.com/FBI Negotiator. But yeah, I agree with Mr. Large that Mr. Moondog, you're a winner, man. I freaking love to see it.
Winner.
You're a winner, man. You're a winner, man, as opposed to you are. It's all good, broski. We fucking love you, Mr. Large. Excellent. So Zenith, remind me again which of the negotiation tactics you've heard before was the Ackerman model that you already do, and also the intonation and stuff.
Yes, but I actually have a question for you, sir. I mentioned previously of the idea that the author talks about 3 different voices that you can use for persuasion. Do you remember what book we covered in the past that talked about using tonation as a way of getting a sale closed?
I would presume it's Hormozy, but I'm not positive.
Nope. Try another one.
Intonation.
Tonality, if you will.
Oh, the Wolf of Wall Street.
Way of the Wolf, baby. Yes,
the Way of the Wolf. That's what it is. Yes, intonation is very important. Intonation is how you connect with people without them knowing that you're connecting to them. That's how, like, everything in life is campfire stories. Everything in life is also heroin. Everything in life is also like
I don't know about that one.
evolutionary psychology. No, no, no. The reason that it's heroin is like there's things that have very, very, very real outcomes because people don't necessarily understand it, and it rules their life.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's where I'm going with that. And I like calling it heroin because I like bombastic examples. Whenever I'm talking about something, I like using Hitler as a guy that makes decisions to do things because people get all kerfuffled about Hitler.
As
And
a
if I
person living in the year 2025, I'm a little tired of politicians using Hitler references, to be honest. But I understand your point.
Yes, the reason that they use Hitler is the same reason that I do, is because it makes you feel a certain type of way. If I say, "Oh man, you wouldn't want to be like Mao Zedong, will you?" Even though Mao Zedong is arguably at least 25 times worse than Hitler
By
from
the
just the
numbers. Yep.
number of people that are killed. By the numbers, Mao Zedong is responsible for over 120 million dead Chinese people. Hitler is responsible for the death of, 6 or 7 million, something like that. All things said and done. Um so, like, by the numbers, Mao Zedong should make more people angry. But you know what people care about more? People care more about Hitler. So it's not about the numbers. It's not about the stuff. It's about the way that things make you feel. That's why it's about heroin, because heroin makes you feel a very particular type of way. So if I can manipulate this idea in order to make a statement and then have you tie it to an emotion, then you're more likely to remember it. If I give you if how does it go? If I tell you a story, you'll remember the moral. Whereas if I just give you some statistics and some data, you'll be like, ah, yes, statistics and data. I don't care about that. Same thing with women. It doesn't matter what you tell them, it matters how you make them feel. It doesn't matter the information that you give people. It matters what sticks. It matters what makes them tick and go forwards. And if you can't get inside people's little brain housing groups and you can't get ideas to have holding power, then the stuff that you talk about isn't going to matter. Think about all the famous statisticians that we don't know about that were very, very correct. And then think about Dr. Seuss that made little kids happy because he wrote a book about one fish, two fish, and red fish and blue fish. It's all about how you make people feel. And that's where this book comes into play, is because it's not about the facts, it's not about the figures, it's about the emotions, it's about connecting with your counterpart. Um, I want to delve more at some point into why you think this book is amusing, because I'm a self-professed very emotionless person, very autistic in the way that I interact with human beings and things of that nature. But I do think that I manipulate emotions relatively well, and I also don't give a fuck about emotions pretty relatively well. So I would the what is it,
That's a
the
very
self
apt
part?
description of what I'm trying to get at there, which is
Yeah.
I think you are a guy that really tries to practice stoicism, and you're like, I'm in control of my thoughts and my bodies. I will feel things, they are important, but they do not rule my life.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. I like that. That's good. Very good job. You've brought me onto your team with that. I think that it's very important. If you want to be in charge of your life, then you need to get in control of your emotions. If you want your emotions to be in charge of your life, then have at it. Go for it. Feel whatever you want to feel at all times. Anytime that you guys are talking to a girl and she says, "Oh my God, what you're saying is going to make me cry," then it's like, okay, her emotions are in charge, which should not be a surprise to you guys. But it's like, you don't want to, if you're a man in the world, you don't want to let your emotions run your decision making, because you have to make very real decisions that sometimes make people live and die, that determine whether you get the deal or you don't get the deal, that determine, like, hey, am I going to be able to make ends meet? Am I going to make rent? Am I going to own this piece of land? Am I going to be able to do this thing? It's a very real world out there. And so if you're a young man in the world, you need to understand and learn how to control your emotions. And women too, you guys need to understand how your emotions play a factor in your life. But I'm more concerned with helping young men learn and understand their emotional control than helping women, because, like, it'll be okay. Women, if you can't control your emotions, you'll be all right. Men, if you can't control your emotions, it ends up in the newspaper. It ends up with, like, I don't want to say school shooters or anything, but men that can't control their emotions, nobody takes seriously. nobody does anything about. Nobody cares, and the world becomes a worse place when there's young men around there that can't take care of what's going on with the chemical processes inside their brain. So I like people that are able to what's the word? Not portray, to live like a stoic life, to be able to be in charge of the ship that they're driving, to be the captain of their own life and everything. So anyways, that's enough about me. Let's talk about
You're good. I was gonna say you did the Marine Corps marksmanship training thing a while ago. And to give you a little preview of the Coast Guard boarding officer manual, they have a statistic in there that's like 90% of gunshot people in the line of duty will survive. And the biggest difference that they found was just the mentality going in, which is that if you believe you're going to die and you actually get hit, good chance is that you're actually just going to die because you're not in the correct mind space. You're not going to think about what you can do to stop yourself from dying. And you're not in the mental space that will control the rest of your body to actually complete the mission and get to a place where you can survive. But if you have that mindset, you go into the situation knowing like, we're going to accomplish the mission. We're going to survive. And because of that, you make more rational thoughts carrying it out, that kind of stuff. There you go. Fun fact.
What's that fucking dude? Do you remember Predator, the original Predator, when Jesse Ventura gets shot? And he's like, I ain't got time to bleed. It's like, goddamn right, you don't got time to bleed, because the guy that's sitting there freaking out about like, oh my god, I got shot in my arm, that guy's gonna die. He's gone. He's toast. He's a gunner. But the guy that gets shot and he's like, I ain't got time for this shit. Fuck that. Rah, brrr, and he's fucking mowing down all the bad guys and killing the Predator and doing the other thing. Like, it's very, very real.
The will to live is a real thing.
Yes, it is. It's all about placebo, baby. You just got to convince yourself. If you can't convince yourself, there's no way yourself is going to be able to take care of yourself. Shout out to Mr. Moondog. Everything is heroin, aka a dopamine trap. I got you. Well, absolutely right, Mr. Moondog. Thank you for being able to, in so many less words, say what I have said much more clearly and distinctly. Shout out to Moondog, who's very good at orating and condensing very complicated ideas. Also, Arceus, step 1, control your emotions. Step 2, harness them and use them to help you. Absolutely right. If you're not, like, the emotions are chemical processes that happen inside of your brain that was supposed to keep you alive when you're getting attacked by a mountain lion. We don't really get attacked by mountain lions anymore. So a lot of our emotions are kind of outdated, and they oh no, now I have to talk by myself. See if this run away. Ah! Your emotions they're meant for prehistoric human beings. They're meant for people that are much older than you that had to deal with real world problems all the fucking time. So like, when women scream, it's because it's like, oh no, I need help. Come help me. When men scream, it's like, get away from here, you dangerous thing. There's all these different emotional things that help human beings of 100,000 years ago keep surviving when they're under attack by dinosaurs. And excuse me, that's what our brains have evolved. Another quote from Mr. Moondog. The first book I ever read on Audible was a neuroscientist talking about how being able to identify and articulate your emotions and feelings was the best thing that you can do for a new child. As an aside, that's good. That's communication skills, is what I think that quote is trying to say, Mr. Moondog. So,
I think it's a little further than that, actually. I think that's a good one, because the thing that you're trying to teach through a child is that if you can articulate the thing that you're feeling, you can pinpoint the thing that you're feeling, and then also be able to understand, I am feeling a thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm doing a thing. So if that makes sense at all. All right, I guess I thought it was your turn to go grab a beer from the fridge. Yeah, yes, I got home and I realized I didn't have any cold ones in the fridge, so I threw one in the freezer. Good news, my freezer is very cold. Bad news is it means that any beverage I put in there becomes a ticking time bomb until it pops. So we got this one just in time. And
you got to be careful.
What is this? I have a Coors Light where I don't have any actual mountains. I just have like an audio thing going on, but they're blue, so it's cold.
An audio thing. Oh, you should be able to scan part of the code for Spotify. That's what that is. It's a Spotify like listening playlist for Coors Light.
Interesting. True.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, I do have, to get us back on topic, I do have a question for you, or I guess rather a comment here. One of the things that I really appreciate about the book when it comes to the idea of tonality is that the author actually kind of pulls a bit of a Stephen Covey here, which is he says these things are good within certain parameters. You can do it not enough, and you can take it too far. Specifically, he talks about the FM late night DJ radio voice. It is very non-confrontational. It is very good with the mirroring aspect, which is when you want to mirror back and get more information out. But he does say if you keep it up too long, it just becomes annoying and it makes you sound unserious. Yeah. Additionally, he talks about the sing-song voice that we reference, the way of the wolf, which is like you talk like a mother calling to their child, trying to get that nice, good intonal inflection, conveying warmth. It's very good to convey comfort and that you're someone they want to talk to. But again, if you take it on too long, then again, it kind of gets into an unserious category, but from the other aspect, which is they start to believe that you're naive and you're just doing whatever they say. You can use it to, he talks about the idea that you can use it to convey like the false notion that they're in control, but really you're doing it intentionally, therefore you're in control. But if you keep it up too long, they just start to see you as someone that's manipulable and not actually in charge. And the final one is the serious voice, or the direct voice, if you will, which is, he talks about this one is the most to be used sparingly, which is that this is the one that you use to convey things that you cannot and will not waver on. If you try to use it for everything, the downside to this is that if you waver on anything you say in this voice, it's that you show that you are not actually serious and that you're not actually going to carry through on certain things. But if you use it sparingly at the end of the sales pitch, you will get your point across, and it will be very direct and show that like you're serious about what you're saying. Additionally, if you try to use it too much, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is they're like, all right, this person's clearly not serious about what they're talking about. They're willing to bend on stuff that they're acting like they're not willing to bend on. I will say, I really appreciated that perspective, because it doesn't just like throw these things out there as like universal standards or goods. It's like, no. Understand, everything has its context. Everything has its place. You got to put both together and use them properly, and you will get maximum effect. I like that a lot.
It's also about being adaptable, like that's, I think if you just do one thing all the time, then congratulations, someone's going to steamroll over you, or someone's going to call you on your bullshit. Like it shows that you don't know what you're actually doing. When you only make free throws, when you're playing basketball and all you do is make free throws, then it's like, what fucking use are you? You can't do a whole bunch of things. You can only do one motherfucking thing. What are you, like an ant that only specializes in one thing? You need to be able to be direct. You need to be able to be fun. You need to be able to set hard lines, and you also need to be able to be calm and smooth and charming. It's important. And I think, I don't know, if you guys listen to our streams long enough, you'll probably notice that Zenith and I both do like a combination of all of these three little voices. It's like, we're fun, we're having great times, we're doing the sing-songy voice, things are going great, and then it's like, now we're talking about definitive facts, and this is non-negotiable. And then it's like, hey guys, calm down, we're all having a good time here. So there's
Hey guys, Jerome Powell said that the inflation is 2.4%, and he will not reduce interest rates right now. As opposed to, some guy at a concert got caught with his mistress. Whoa.
Ooh, wow, whoa.
Look, I will say, I know we're doing a little bit of inside baseball on this one, considering we already talked about origins of the channel, StreamYard, all that stuff. But like, as a content creator, I think this is something we've seen a lot in probably the last 5-10 years, was that the idea of authenticity is very important to an audience, which is that there's competing demands here, which is you want to be entertaining to ensure that you have captured the audience's attention as they increase retainment, but like how long they're going to watch your stuff, how long they're going to be entertained for, how long until they click off. And then the competing point here is if they feel like you're faking it, then it's like, oh, this is just a manufactured personality. I don't care about this. It feels like slop that someone's trying to push on me. I will say that idea is also even conveyed in the book a little bit when the guy talks about the negotiation situations, which is that if you're trying to act too nice to people and you try to make them feel good, the other party can like almost instinctively like hear it and understand like, oh, this person is ingenuous. So instead of hearing that this person is nice, they're hearing that this person is trying to trick me or snake me or betray me in some way. They're not actually trying to keep their word. They have ulterior motives, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But when it comes to but when it comes to the broadcasting stuff, I mean, one of the mantras I'm trying to live by is the person I am on screen, I want to make sure that I am off screen as well. I also understand I'm trying to put on a good show. I want to give you guys the best that I possibly can so that you're not listening to some NPR FM radio like, so today we're talking about the interest rates and Jerome Powell said it was 2.4% and he's not going to lower rates. That kind of exactly. 5 seconds of that and like believe me, I wanted to fall asleep. But at the same time though, it's being a person on screen and off screen, that stuff matters. When it comes to the book and the negotiating stuff, what you're trying to convey on the phone, you want to actually like mean what you say, even if you're trying to do all of the subconscious and pre-planned out like tonality, steps of the Ackerman model for negotiating, that kind of stuff.
I think it's important to be real on screen too. Like, we live in a world where information is cheap. Like, think about how seriously people take Mr. Beast versus how seriously people take Joe Rogan. You know, like we know that Mr. Beast gets more clicks, but we know that Joe Rogan is real. That the Joe Rogan you see on camera
Yeah.
is probably very consistent to what the Joe Rogan you see in real life. So there's
Oh, yeah.
there's a dichotomy between, or not a dichotomy, but there's a balance between like what gets the views, what gets the cheap attention, versus what gets the audience to trust in the person that's doing the talking. One of the biggest compliments that I've noticed, you and I get it because you and I, Zenith, we've done a lot of real life meetup event things. One of the things I've noticed that we get is a lot of people come up to us and they're like, "Bro, you're the same on camera as you are hanging out here, and that's awesome, and we love it." And it's like that's one of my favorite things to hear when we go and hang out and do real life events, like when we go to the Pulse Chain conference down in Vegas, or when we go to the Richard Hart meetup over in New York, or fuck, what are some of the when we go to the crypto mindset course stuff. It's like there's all these real life events where there's these people that have been watching you for however long you've been hanging out on YouTube. Like, if I were to go to a real life event and Sami was there and he acts totally different from how he does on stream, they'd be like, "Oh, well, that's weird." Or if I were to go and like hang out with SJ and find out I'm not even gonna speak these negative things into real life, because like I know people, and how they are in real life is very similar to how they are in stream, and that's like high value stuff. That means the person is congruent. That means I can trust them. That means that they are consistent. These are the things that people are super duper hungry for, because in the world that we live in, it's all about cheap information, it's all about cheap entertainment, it's all about cheap human values, and there's very low trust. Shout out, who's the dude that wrote The Speed of Trust? Was it
Stephen Covey.
Stephen Covey?
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
Was it Stephen Covey or his son?
I don't know.
And
Some Covey person.
I want to say his father wrote, it was either Atomic Habits or 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, both of which are books we have not yet covered on the book club. But Speed of Trust was written by the original guy's son. I want to say it was Stephen Covey. I don't want to say his his father was the original author.
Stephen R. Covey's. Oh wait, from Stephen R. Covey's eldest son. Oh man.
There it is. Okay,
Stephen M. R. Covey. Okay. All right. So he's a junior. Excellent.
That's one way of doing it.
Something like that. Hey, like shout out to all my juniors. And I'm a third. So there we go. So if somebody says Will Stevenson, they could be referring to me, my grandfather, or my father, or any which way. It works out great. So Stephen Covey, senior, junior, or third, or Cinco, or whatever the hell number he is, wrote this really cool book about why it's important for people to trust you. And it's even more important in today's day and age, where information abounds and is super cheap. Anybody can get on camera. Anybody can talk in front of a microphone. Anybody can do things. But you know what not everybody can do is be a consistent person that that like follows through and does the things that they say and doesn't just get the cheap clicks. Like, imagine if the DGen Roundtable was nothing but clickbait. Like, yeah, we use things that we know will get people to click on our titles.
Has sure. Uncle Z created a tier list or two to, stroke the YouTube algorithm? Yes. Shameless. Absolutely. But also at the same time, I tried to make good content out of it.
Uh-huh. Well, and that's how you get people to read your article. If the newspaper has a shitty headline and it doesn't make you want to read it, then you don't read it. If we can't get people to click on the YouTube thumbnail, if we can't get people to click on and see like, oh, what happened in Pulse Chain today, it's like, ooh, I click on this thing and I found out special information, and then they hang out and they see us and we're having fun and it's a good time, then it's like, hey, it fucking works, right? So there's a level of using the clickbait system to your advantage. It's kind of like the whole like marketing hex using scam tactics. You get people in using things that work, and then you feed them like you get people into the store by offering candy, and then they show up to the store and it's actually like, hey, broccoli, chicken, and rice. Get some good healthy things for you, you know? And you give them the quality substance that keeps them around for a long time. We're going
Yeah,
quite off
it's
topic.
almost
What
like
was the
last
original
week
thing?
on the Sunday news show. We lured people in talking about the new all-time highs for Bitcoin, and then Brendan hit him with the letting people know that there's an airdrop going on for Cardano, and Ethereum and holders are also benefited for it. So there's your alpha.
Yeah.
But yes, to your point, to get us back on topic here, I do actually have another question for you here. So
Cool.
related to the section where he talks about that no is the start of a negotiation, he mentions the idea of niceness or being nice in society, which is that a lot of people feel beholden to niceness in society. If you had to try and describe that to people, of why do people feel that they want to be nice in all interactions, why would you say that people feel that way?
Well, people want to be loved first and foremost. People want to be accepted.
Okay.
People want other people to want them to be around. People want to be attractive. And people think incorrectly, I would argue, that niceness is a way to do that. I don't think that niceness is a way to get people attracted to you. I think being kind, being polite, being real, being genuine, not putting on a false front is a way to get people to enter into your sphere. People that are nice, like if I say, "Oh, you know John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, that dude's a nice guy." Are
Oh,
you
is he?
impressed? Are you impressed by me saying that about him? Are you like, "Oh, what's this guy got wrong with him?"
Is
What's
John
the thing?
Jacob Hingelheimer Schmidt a nice guy, or is he a good guy?
Yes. A
Hmm.
kind person, and I'll bring this back to I don't know who originally said this, but I know that Jordan Peterson brings it up from time to time. So I'll go ahead and shout him out. But it's important to be a warrior in a garden, not a gardener in a war. So if you're a nice person, the implication is that you're not capable of atrocities. You're not capable of violence. You're not capable of doing difficult things. You're just a person that's pleasant to be around. But you know what? The world's not a pleasant place. Let's be honest. There's a lot of horrible things that go on. Sometimes you have to speed. Sometimes you have to swerve out of the side of the road and make a crazy maneuver. Sometimes you have to like crack a bad guy over the head with a baseball bat to stop him from, conducting violence on your family. Sometimes you have to do difficult things. And so if you're a nice guy and you're given a a terrible scenario, you might not step up to the plate. But you know what people are impressed by is a person who is kind, a person who is capable of doing nice things, but also capable of doing atrocities that gets them and their loved ones through whatever hardships are happening and available. So like I
Exactly. To
think
hit
that
you with the
people
other two
go ahead.
DJP or Dr. Jordan Peterson quotes on this one, I believe the advice he gives to young men is that you should not learn to be nice. You should learn to be a monster, and then you should learn to control it, which is you need to develop the capability, and then you need to learn to control your capability. And the other one here is that it's a bit of a biblical reference, but no matter how much able you think you are, there is always a bit of Cain inside you, which is understand you have developed your capabilities, but in order to control it, you still do have that monstrosity inside of you. And it is your duty to ensure that you control it. Yes, you are. I think you are hitting this one square on the head. But to get back to the book on this one, so in a world or society or cultural where everyone is socially kind of blackmailed into being nice, when you're in a conversation or a negotiation, what word are people usually trying to get the other party to say?
They're usually trying to get them to say yes, which is the wrong way to go about doing things. The better way is no. As we were discussing earlier, no is an empowering word. Yes can mean three things. One of the parts that they talk about in the book is yes can mean I agree with you. Yes can mean I agree and will commit or comply. And then yes can also mean shut the fuck up. I just want to agree with you so you will stop pestering me. Yes can mean three things. It can mean gotcha, go ahead. It can mean I'm on the same team as you, or it can mean shut the fuck up, get out of here because I'm being nice.
There you go.
There's only one interpretation of no, and that is no, not the case. So when you're dealing with someone and you get them to say yes, you don't know what type of yes they're saying. You don't know if they're saying yeah, whatever, keep going, or you don't know if they're saying yeah, go on, or if they're saying yes, let's fucking do it. Roger that. Let's fucking proceed. But there's only one type of no. So if you can ask a question that invites a no answer, but is really saying yes, I agree with you, then you're the fucking master of you're the master of the scenario. You're the master of the negotiation. So, is it, what did you want to jump into from this question? I'll ask it right back to you, Z.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. Yeah. So the book gives two big scenarios in my mind when it comes to the idea of saying no or getting the other party to say no in very positive ways. So the first example is he gives a hypothetical of you or a telemarketer trying to get people to donate to like a political party. And he says, okay, imagine this. You're on the phone, you're calling a person, you want them to give you a donation to your political party. You ask them to be like, oh, are you unhappy with the way things are going? Oh, yeah, I am. Oh, do you wish that things would be better? Oh, yeah, I do. Cool. Will you give money to my organization? I don't know. As opposed to the contradictory one, which is, hey, do you believe that the country is going the right direction, or it will be in the next 20 years if we keep going the same way? And you're like, no, I don't think it will. They're like, oh, are you just gonna sit by and do nothing during this time? It's like, no, I don't think I won't. It's like, cool. If how do you want to go about that? We have our political organization here that's willing to work with you on this kind of stuff. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I will. This is the example he gives of trying to use no as the way of stirring up the emotions of trying to get people to go to action as opposed to just like passive compliance with the yeses. Mm-hmm. The other example that
go ahead.
Yeah, hit it.
Well, I was going to bring up Arceus' comment that yes is nothing without a how. So if people are saying yes to you, but they're not describing what's the next thing or what's the next thing that's going on, then it's a cheap yes. It means nothing. So
exactly.
That's the ethos of that point. Shout out to Arceus.
It's more of agreed. It's more of compliance than agreement in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the second example that the author gives in the book is he had not yet become a hostage negotiator, but he wanted to be a hostage negotiator. And he walked into an office with the person who is a hostage negotiator and trains people to be hostage negotiators. He's like, hey, I want to apply for this. And the lady looks at him and says, okay, are you a hostage negotiator? He says, nope. He goes, okay, do you have any formal education? He goes, nope. Do you have any experience? Nope. Okay, then go away, leave. And he goes, no. And she starts to get like physically frustrated. She's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, I don't have any of this stuff, but like, what would you like? How do I get my foot in the door here? And she's like, what are you talking about? You're wasting my time. He's like, no. Like, seriously, the kind of people you give this kind of opportunity or job to, what do? She's like, I don't know. They like go work at some sort of like suicide hotline for a while and help people there. And he's like, okay. And she's like, I don't know, like go call this number or something. So the reason that he gives this example is that he had no prior experience, no qualifications, and no official certifications for it as well. And he pretty much walks up to the lady who is flooded with people wanting to be a hostage negotiator. And instead of just getting turned away at the door, he was given specific positive direction on how to accomplish the goal.
Yep. That's super clever because he turned that whole scenario around on itself where everyone else was doing, trying to get the yes, trying to get the positive affirmative offer, blah, 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 and like pushing crazy to get it. Like he took the other direction, and it's what's the saying? If you do what everyone else is doing, you're gonna get what everyone else has got. Everyone's always trying to push people to say yes. If you try and push someone to say no, one, they're going to be surprised by it. Two, they're going to be empowered by it. Three, they're going to think you're on your team. And like four, they're going to feel more powerful as a result of the whole thing. So he totally like got the thing that he wanted out of a person that was in a position of power over him by saying no repeatedly and by asking like no type of questions and flipping the whole thing into his little perfect world there. So I really like that example that he gave.
Yeah, the idea of saying no as a starting point for negotiations, I think, is one of the major themes of the book. The reason that the author thinks that it's so impactful is that because with the idea of trying to get people to say yes to things, they're hoping that people go along with passive compliance, which is like kind of like trying to rope you into their side of the camp. Exactly. But interestingly enough, the way he describes using the no route is that it kind of it achieves the same goal, but an opposite stance, which is that instead of trying to like lure someone into your camp and being on your side, what you're actually doing is solidifying their position enough where they feel comfortable actually giving you things that they would not have normally give you if you had tried to lure them to your side of the camp. He talks about this, which is like when someone says no, what they're doing is establishing that boundary, which makes them feel secure. And when they feel secure, they're already secure in their current position. Therefore, you know, instead of trying to like tear down people's defenses, you've helped establish their defenses, which is themselves, so that they realize what you're asking for is not actually inside of their little boundary they created, but it's something outside of it in which they can actually help you with.
What are the we got a comment here from Mr. Moondog. A powerful no to get someone to agree is what happens if they don't take your offer. Then you agree that's a horrible outcome and demonstrate why your offer is better. Another thing I wanted to touch on regarding the no's is everyone who has kids knows about no, knows about the terrible twos when the infants all say no. The kids are trying to like, they're finally understanding like, hey, I'm a person and I can make my own decisions. Fuck you, you know, and they're throwing the middle finger up to the world and they're saying no, 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 no. You as a parent can like resist it, or you can mold the questions in such a way as to give the kid that same feeling. Because what does the kid really want? The kid doesn't really want like the answer no. They don't really want like the outcome of the thing. They want to express their independence. So if you can give them a question that gets them to say no, it makes them feel empowered as like, you know, a young human being that's learning about empowerment, that's learning about all those things, and you can get them walking along the path that you already want them to go. So just like as a non-parent giving advice to parents out there, like that's my 2 cents about that whole thing. No's are very powerful. Those are very, very powerful. No's are much more powerful than yeses, and I'm a big believer in that. And this book totally explains very well why that is the case. So that's what I got on that. You got some good questions, Mr. Zenith. I'm running out of I'm not running out of content. I've got a whole bunch of questions that I haven't asked you.
Brother, you and I can go for hours, baby. We can do this all night, but we try not to respect people's time.
You know, hey, and if we appreciate all you guys watching, the 47 of you guys on Twitter, the 8 of you on YouTube, y'all are freaking awesome, and we appreciate y'all watching. And like, you know, this is a fun time. I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
We're all learning. We're all getting educated. Y'all are getting the cliff notes. What you got?
I want to go a little bit deeper on this one. So we've read this book. We've read books in the past. How would you kind of like compare and contrast the different styles of salesmanship, if you will, that we've looked at on this one? So this one, it's the idea of trying to create no, as opposed to, I'm pretty sure in Way of the Wolf, the idea was actually to get people to agree with you. But kind of the difference on that one was that Way of the Wolf was very much, it's the straight line approach, which is that kind of like old school salesmanship is you want to like butter people up and make them feel good before you get down to the meat of the business, versus Way of the Wolf. Exactly. Way of the Wolf is it's the straight line negotiation, which is the idea that everything is driving towards that final sales question. And even then, in the straight line method, the final sales question is actually your initial sales question. And then after that, you start handling objections and you start working to the no's in that regards, as opposed to this one, which is you're actually like handling no's in the beginning. Do you think that it almost seems like contradictory in a sense, which is that one of them is trying to handle the no's up front versus another one is trying to handle no's later on? Why do you think these people arrived at different points for the no's?
Well, I think that you're talking about the Jordan Belfort versus Chris Voss approach.
Yep, straight line sales method versus hostage negotiation, if you will.
Well, you know, with the straight line sales, it's all about hypnosis. It's all about like you're in charge the whole time. With hostage negotiation, it starts with them being in charge and you taking charge. So
is it them actually being in charge, or is it the idea that you're trying to make the person feel that they're in charge?
Well, it's both. So
okay.
So like they're the ones with the hostages that can kill people, and they can do things that you don't want to happen. And so you have to get them to believe that they're in charge before you can actually take charge as the negotiator. With the Jordan Belfort model, it's like you're starting from the position of power to begin with. So it's like just walk them down the merry road and then get them to where you want them to go. It's like when you might appreciate this as an officer in the Coast Guard. When you show up to a unit, there is a are you in charge when you show up kind of feel versus do you have to earn your being in charge kind of feel. And there's different units that will act differently, right? So in my own personal experience, I showed up to a unit called Combat Cargo on one of my deployments, and I was a corporal at the time amongst a sea of other corporals and lance corporals, people that are, the same rank and lower than me. And then in the very beginning, I got promoted to sergeant. So that put me in a very clear, like, this person is in charge of these people kind of thing because of X, Y, and Z reason. Not because I had gone out there and done things from their perspective that puts me in charge. It's just that this guy's higher rank now, so he's in charge. And I was talking to some of my combat cargo guys on the phone like not even a week ago. Shout out to Cullen and Jackson if y'all are watching. Fucking I love you guys. They called me up the other day. That was really cool talking to some of my Marines from long ago. But there's a different way that you approach leadership when you have to seize leadership versus when it is granted to you by circumstance. When this leadership is granted to you by circumstance, or when you already have leadership, then you employ the Jordan Belfort mechanism. If you have to take leadership, then you need to employ the Chris Voss method, which is like you have to go out and you have to earn it. You have to get them to be on your team, as opposed to they're already on your team, which is where the Jordan Belfort thing more plays into effect. You can't use the Jordan Belfort mechanism if they're not on your team. You can't run them down the yes. Like if Jordan Belfort was a hostage negotiator, it wouldn't work. He would fail every time because he's working with people that don't believe in him, because he's a salesperson, and because he only sells to people like that famous quote from the movie and from the book is like, sell me this pen. It's like, do you want a pen? No? Okay, well, fuck you. I'm not going to sell you a pen, because why the fuck am I going to waste my time selling to people that aren't interested? He only deals with hot leads. But when you're dealing with a lukewarm lead and you have to get them on your team, that's the difference between the two dichotomies. That's the best way that I can describe it anyways. Do you have any thoughts on the matter?
I would wholeheartedly agree with you. I think I was thinking about it from a different standpoint, but I entirely understand what you're saying, which is that from the way of the wolf standpoint, which is like the salesmanship model, it's that idea that you just mentioned of, are you in the market for a pen? No? Okay, then why am I going to waste my time? As opposed to the hostage negotiator, which is, I have to get this hostage. I have no other choice. I have to make this work. It's different starting points, which is why I can understand both of these books can have slightly different models, but they're both equally valid in the circumstance that they operate in, which is that the hostage negotiator is dealing with, I have to get this done. I think early on in the book, he even throws out this idea. He's like, look, if you did the theoretical negotiation thing of like each meet in the middle, it's like, hey, you got 4 hostages. Cool. Can I get 2 back and you can just shoot the other 2? It's like, no, that doesn't work.
I'll meet you halfway. We're going to compromise. You kill 2 of them. I get 2 of them. We're all good, right? It's like, no, there is no compromise. There is no,
exactly,
wear 1 brown shoe and 1 black shoe out to dinner.
Correct. Exactly.
Never split the difference.
Yeah. You mentioned the word earlier in the stream, but the key concept here is being dynamic. It's understanding which of the situations that you're in, which is that both of these guys have a lot of experience and a lot of success, by the way, but they attack it in different ways. But again, at the same time, their target audience, if you will, or their customers or potential customers and hostage takers, they're different groups of people, and it's different situations that you're negotiating through. So I think that when you try to read these kind of books, you really got to understand what is the target audience that you're going for and how you can best get there. So in this book in particular, it's the idea that you have to win. But at the same time, though, one of the other concepts he talks about in the beginning is that you still want to try to create that win-win. It doesn't mean that you meet people halfway. It means that you make both parties feel that they got what they wanted. In his case, he wants all of the hostages back alive, and he wants the hostage takers or the criminals to feel that they got what they wanted, but at the end of the day, they still just got bested by law enforcement. I don't know. What do you think about that? Different angles to attack it.
Getting I was pulling up Moondog's comment. Can you repeat the
No, you're your brother. I was just saying, like, I think that I would definitely apply this book and Way of the Wolf into softer sciences, which is that there's no hard and fast answer to everything, but they have both very much found a way that works for specific scenarios. And they can also extrapolate it to other. Exactly. Praxeology. What's the other word I'm looking for? What's not? Praxeology is the idea of things versus
praxeology is the
prescription
application.
Praxeology versus prescription. There you go. Yeah, I guess to elaborate on that, praxeology is like the idea of I'm observing things how they are and creating theories based on that. I'm not exactly telling you what to do with your life, but I'm saying I'm observing this thing. There appears to be ways that people move or things operate. I'm not telling you have to do a certain thing about it, but I'm telling you that I'm observing how things are. That's praxeology. Prescription is saying X is such, therefore you must take Y action to achieve Z result. That's prescription.
I had to Google the opposite of praxeology, and prescription is a close is a close word. The fun word that came up is, and this is from Reddit, is Aristotle's teleology, which is basically normative prescriptions. So there you guys go. You got praxeology and teleology, and then also included in the description is empiricism of psychology, but I don't know if that's entirely correct. But yeah, there you guys go.
Fair enough. I think one of the famous quotes on this is that people will hate you for making you feel a certain way about things without telling them what to do about it. Which is that you can make people aware of a situation, and now they're mad at you that you gave them the apple of knowledge, but you never told them what to do with it. So this is especially so in the modern media age, which is that there's so much information out there, and you can expose people to certain things that they've not been exposed to. But if you expose them, but you don't tell them what to do, they're just going to be stuck with a feeling. So now that feeling is attributed to you. It's like, dang it, now you made me realize that my burger tastes like poop. And I don't know what to do about it. Now you didn't tell me what to do. I just know it tastes bad. Now I have this thing I used to like, and now it tastes bad.
Got to give me the rainbow at the end of the story. I need the positive, bright perspective future. So on that subject of the bright perspective future, what's something that folks can do every single day to practice negotiations? Like what are some common like what are some low stakes situations that people can practice this sort of stuff in? Like the stuff that he talks about in the book. Do you have any ideas?
I think that, how about this? We'll go for a workplace. If you were in a workplace and your boss tells you to do something, I think that the mirroring technique is very useful here, because
that's what I was going to choose, motherfucker. Fuck you.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Sorry to steal it.
Go ahead.
No, if your boss says, hey, I want you to create this TPS report by Friday, and you go, okay, TPS reports?
Yes.
And he says, yep, the TPS reports. Yeah, I wanted to include X, Y, and Z. You're like, all right, cool. Now I already have more information that I didn't have. And then from there, this would be a typical place for maybe a person to ask, okay, why Friday? Instead, okay, when Friday? How about that? This gets into another concept of the book, which is those open-ended questions where you don't want it to be totally open-ended, but because you leave it open-ended in a specified direction, it allows them to elaborate further into what they're looking for. So there you go. The mirroring, but at the same time, I will say sometimes when he describes about the mirroring techniques, it almost seems like a person is talking to a brick wall, or kind of an asshole, if you will. And it's like, all right, don't take it too far, but give the mirroring so that the person can further elaborate on their point. And then at the same time, if you're dealing with something that maybe is like a personal note, you can try to do the labeling technique, which is trying to identify the emotion that the person is talking to you about, which is like, I don't know, your wife says, hey, I want you to, like, can you take out the trash? And if they're really harping on you about it, you can be like, okay, so you don't want this stinky garbage in the house. Got it. You are labeling what they're feeling, which is, I feel nauseated by the trash being in the house and I want it gone. Okay, got it. I have identified the thing that you're feeling. Now I can actually execute on how to effectuate that feeling or
And then
alleviate, if you will.
understanding the end point is important more so than the means by which you get there. It's like the wife doesn't care about the fact that the garbage can is 35 or 70% full. The wife cares about the fact that trash in house makes feel bad. Don't want feel bad, for fuck's sake. No feel bad. That's the thing that you're solving for in almost every single one of these scenarios. Is like, people don't want feel bad. No feel bad. We'll just simplify it down to caveman terms. To quote that one guy from The Office. I can't remember his name. The guy that spills all the spaghetti sauce on the ground. But the point
Kevin.
is like,
he spilt the chili.
Kevin, yes.
Kevin
Yes,
spilt the chili.
Uh-huh. Me use few word. I can't remember.
Why use many word when few word do good?
Yes, exactly. The point is that people don't want to feel bad. To tee off of what you were saying, with the mirroring and the stuff, is I would say, just invest attention in the person who is your counterpart. Pay attention. When you pay attention, you receive product, right? When you pay for something, you generally get something back. So if you invest in the person that you're listening to, if you invest in the person that you're conversing in, you eliminate yourself out of the scenario. You're like, I'm focused, my horse blinders are on, and I'm only looking at other person. I don't care about me anymore. I'm taking myself out of the scenario completely, and I'm only listening to the other person, repeating back what they said, because I want them to know that I understand, and I have gone through the effort of doing the work to get to the same point that they are, right? um, when you do that, when you invest in other people, then you're closer to getting the thing that you want out of the other people. And oftentimes, all parties can win from this scenario. It's not just a me versus him, it's a me and him, or it's a me and her. It's a everybody wins together when everybody works together. When
For sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
I
was
was
gonna
going to
say,
try and think of an example, and I don't have anything.
no, to elaborate on this one a little bit, the downside of, or possibly a way you could go too far, is the author talks about in the books when it comes to negotiating, is that you can get into a position where both sides are trying to have reciprocality, which is like, I gave you X, therefore I deserve Y. And he talks about, there was a scenario, I think it was in like some Southeast Asia country, where there was hostage takers, and then the FBI at the time, like pre-updating all of their negotiation tactics, was like, well, we want this. We want a proof of life or something. And it was very much an idea that you're arguing from, I want this thing, and then the other person's like, I want this thing. Therefore, if I give you this thing, you should give me the other thing. Tit for tat, exactly. But the way that the person actually succeeded in this one, which it was like a local politician kind of just like circumnavigated them and just paid them like money just to get access or whatever. It was like, here's the money. Can I get these people?
Just validated it.
Yeah, exactly. So what the difference between those two scenarios here is that one was the tit for tat method versus the other was just trying to not establish that kind of rapport, but still establish different objectives, which is like, I'm trying to do this thing, you're trying to do this thing. I don't have to give you this thing in order to get this other thing. Like, yeah, I can give you this. It doesn't, like, it's not saying it doesn't matter, but it's like, yeah, I'll give you this. It's like, and then that opens up the opportunity for the other person to willingly give you what you're looking for, as opposed to trying to go for that medium exchange. Again, I think these are very niche tactics for specific scenarios, but the idea of being tit for tat on stuff is one of the ways that you can very easily go down a negative path when it comes to negotiating.
Yeah, it's almost like you're measuring the conversational ledger to make sure that it balances before you try and tip the scale in the other direction. The way that you actually get anywhere in life is by, one, having no expectations, and two, investing freely with with just goodwill. It's like, I'm going to give you this thing, and I hope that you give me something, but if you don't, that's cool, whatever. And if they don't, then it's like, so be it. They're not people that act in good faith, and you have to reevaluate your scenario at that point.
Correct.
But
The key word that you use there is investing in things on free will, which is you're not giving them away for nothing. It
it's
is
not obligation.
Exactly. It's not obligation, but it's a hope for something else. It's not just giving it away for nothing, and it's not doing for tit for tat. It's kind of that like that sweet medium there, which is like it's an investment. It's like I'm hoping that you can do this. Like I'm showing you some goodwill here in hopes that you'll show me goodwill elsewhere. At the same time, though, they're not obligated to. In which case, because it's an investment, you have the responsibility to not keep throwing money down the pit when it shows that it's not giving you returns. Again, not tit for tat, but at the same time, kind of investing that goodwill.
And it's very important to do that from a position of an abundance mindset. Because if you have a scarcity mindset and you're like, oh, I keep giving them these things and they give me nothing, then it's like, okay, you're desperate. You have no scarcity. When you give people stuff from an abundance mindset, whether you have abundance or not, if you have the mindset, then it's all okay. Um, if you're happy with giving people your attention, with giving people your validation, with giving people your communication and your effort and all of that stuff, like it's a relatively low price to give. Um, and having an abundance mentality, one of the things that he mentioned in there is like you have to be okay with the fact that they might actually kill the hostages. Like you have to have signed on to that. You can't be desperate when you're a negotiator. You can't be like, I can't survive if these hostages get killed or something like that. It's a horrible thing to say, but it's like this is the reality of the situation. You cannot, when you're under the influence of desperation, you'll do desperation things. And you have to be a negotiator from a position of abundance in order to have a good, solid back and forth and not be affected by the emotion, not be affected by any of that stuff. So it goes back to what we talk about on the DRT all the time. Abundance mindset, giving without expectation, like not having expectations for other people and entering into agreements. And then understanding that at some point, if the other person doesn't reciprocate, then you need to change tactics. You don't just give and give and give and give and give forever, right? This isn't some black and white world where it's just like, oh, I have abundance. I'll just give until the sky turns blue or till the sky turns green or whatever the hell. It's like, no, you give because you're testing the other person to see if they work with you. You want them to be on your team. If you just give and give and give and they're still on their team, then it's like, aha, I have to cut this relationship off. I have to say, hey, it's been great working with you, and I love you, and we'll see you later. But like, I can't just keep doing this forever. So
True.
this book just does a really good job of hitting all those things on the head. You had a thought you wanted to share, Z?
Yeah, I was going to say the final question for me for you tonight is I wanted to ask you about the entire chapter that's dedicated to two words, which is that's right. So the author spends a lot of time talking about how the most impactful thing that you can receive during negotiations is the other party saying that's right. Why do you think the author focuses so much on saying that's right? We already covered another chapter where he was like, yes, no is a good thing. I hope to get no's. But then he later comes back to the idea that getting the other party to say that's right is the best thing that you can do. Why is that so important?
Because it's about teamwork. The hostage
Okay.
negotiator and the hostage takers, or the negotiator and the counterpart need to be on the same team if forward like momentum is going to be had. So if you've got two people that are both talking past each other, then they're not going to be on the same team. They're not going to come to a conclusion. There's going to be a shootout. There's going to be some sort of bad outcome. So it's all about teamwork, or at least the perception of teamwork, right? From the counterpart's perspective, the person that you want to get something from. So what was your question again? Is like why? What?
Why is getting the other person to say that's right so impactful when it comes to negotiations?
Okay, so it's because that's the point at which they feel like they're making progress and they're getting what they want. That's when they start coming onto your team. That's when they start making the switch from being like, "Oh, I'm at war with these damn policemen that are trying to stop me from killing these hostages and not give me money and not give me an escape copter." It's like, "Oh, they actually care what I have to say. Okay, well I can keep talking now." So that is the inflection point where it switches from we're enemies to we're now friends trying to come to a conclusion, or we're now people on the same page trying to get somewhere. It's like where you're fighting the machine, and then finally you turn the wrench just enough that the machine's now working in your favor and you're making forward momentum. It's the turnaround point is when they say that's right, or when they feel that's right, or when they're like, oh, we're on the same team, sweet, now we can make progress. So that's my answer. What about you? What do you think?
I would say I think you nailed it there, saying that trying to get people on the same page. It's there's a common law enforcement thing when dealing with like day-to-day interactions. It's called the LEAPS method, or LEAPS. So it's listen, empathize, acknowledge, paraphrase, summarize. The idea is that you need to listen.
So good.
Listen, empathize, so you acknowledge the emotions. Acknowledge, so you acknowledge the emotion that's coming across. Paraphrase, to get the points in order, and then summarize to wrap it all up. That's kind of the idea that I was linking with this concept, which is that when you get the other party to say that's right, what they're doing is acknowledging that you have properly reflected or mirrored what they're trying to get across here, which is that the thing they're saying is not necessarily the emotion they're trying to convey, which may speak to a deeper meaning or mission or thing that they're trying to achieve. But when you can get the other party to say that's right, it means that that person has acknowledged that you understand what they're talking about and all the stuff behind it. I think that's a very powerful thing, because at that point, it's exactly what you said. It gets people on the same page. Once you get people on the same page, it's like cutting through all the surface level stuff and really getting to the root of the issue. Once you have that root of the issue, then you can really start to work from there.
Bro, you know what just occurred to me? Chat shoutouts is that's right. When we acknowledge the folks at home for interacting with us, we're giving them validation. We're saying like, hey, we appreciate you talking to us. We agree with your ideas, or we're at least expressing them. Sometimes the chat shoutouts are, sometimes the folks in the chat say some silly things and we don't acknowledge them.
Even some of the weird ones that have come across, like we still pull up and read. And even at that point, I think we like subconsciously try to do a similar model to the LEAPS model, which is I have listened, I empathize, which is there's an emotion behind this. I'm acknowledging that there's that emotion. I'm trying to paraphrase and I'm trying to summarize. And then once we got into that point, we can get to the rest of the topic that we're trying to talk about and the potential after actions, that kind of stuff. So yeah, look, you're not entirely wrong. I will say, I think there is a reason that live streams have become very prolific in today's day and age. We went from, back in the day, paper medium to radio to television to internet medium, which then lengthened to podcasts. And I think live streams are a bit of an extension of the podcast space, which is that the podcast is it's a 2-3 hour journey with Joe Rogan exploring anything and everything. You know that he doesn't know everything, but he's genuinely interested in like hearing it out and hearing like the full explanations and all the random rabbit holes you go down and that stuff. Live streaming is the extension of that, which is you get the audience participation, because the podcast was a conversation broadcast to the people versus live streaming is a show with the people involved.
Absolutely. On that subject, we're going to do chat motherfucking shoutouts. There's a couple chats that I want to cover real quick because we've been pulling them up. So shout out to you, Mr. Funk Master Hex. Chat motherfucking shoutouts. Absolutely right. We've got also Miss Arceus over here saying relationships and emotions need negotiating as much as anything else. Voss method is optimally getting to a place where you're solving a problem together. And
Agreed.
that's a fucking fantastic summarization there, Miss Arceus. We appreciate it. Also, thinking about what you want and what the other person wants, and then having a method for working things out, honest and clear conflict. These are all good things. Absolutely right. They are. This is the point of the whole book. Again, I can't stress it enough. You guys should read this book. If this podcast, if this stream that me and Zenith are doing is not entertaining enough, and you guys are like, oh, I got the entire sauce of the book, then it's like, bro, we have barely scratched on 3% of the book. You know, we've had a lot of fun. This has been a great stream, and we love each and every one of you guys. But this book is just so jam-packed, full of great, fantastic information. I think that everyone can at least 4x their effectiveness in life by reading and really seriously taking to heart all of the things that they talk about in this book.
That's true. Can you pull up Arceus's last comment there? That was a really good one. I would say that this is a very good summary of what the author is trying to achieve through the tactics and strategy that he's employing, because the other side of this, which is that if you don't go this route, which is trying to hear people out and have a a method of working things out, being honest and clear, it kind of just devolves into a power struggle, which is that you're trying to escape the power struggle so that you don't have to deal with those tactics. Because if you deal with the power struggle in the scenario that the author is talking about, at that point, you're literally just using like the epitome of force on force violence to accomplish your goals, which is someone has a hostage and a gun to your head. You have a lot more people with a lot more guns, and hopefully you can use those to storm the building and steal the hostages before they actually shoot the hostages. That's the negative manifestation of what the author is trying to avoid. So he builds the positive on exactly what you said there. That is the whole point. Like, the author, in my mind, is trying to convey that this is how we escape those bad scenarios where you resort to just pure power, whether it's physical force, political, emotional manipulation, whatever you want to say. There is a way beyond that, in a way that we actually use the old logical brain there, as opposed to the hind brain, and just resort to the instinct and just trying to just brute force it through. So exactly. Boom.
Bam. Excellent work, Arceus. And then also one final chat shout out from Mr. Moondog. I once heard of a definition of leadership that has talked about the ability to attune and modulate other nervous systems to one's own. That's right, is a bright neon sign of brain sync. Yes, absolutely right, Mr. Moondog. Shout out to you, good sir. Getting other people to agree with you and to do the same thing you're doing is that is the epitome of leadership, is getting other people on board with what you're doing, whether they agree or not, is like at the core of their human. If you can get them to agree, then they'll work even better for you. But like at its crux, it's just getting everyone to do the same thing. That is how you get a leader. That is how you get a consistent goal or a consistent outcome. So shout out to you, Mr. Moondog.
I would maybe even take it a step further there. I think you said two things, which is one is getting people to agree with you versus getting everyone to do things with you. Getting people to agree with you, as we discussed earlier, which is with like the yes versus no stuff, it's easy to get people to passively apply because there's like the societal pressure to be nice and stuff like that. But I think the epitome of leadership is getting people to work together towards a specific mission objective. It's not just getting people to agree with you. It's getting the team in alignment and working in the same direction.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not about, I think that's a very good comment.
Yes. Shout out to Moondog. You know, and Moondog's a fantastic. For those of you guys that don't know Moondog,
good dude.
You guys should go. You guys should hang out with him. Check out his socials. Check out the things that he has to say. Listen, because this man knows a lot about leadership. Absolutely wise guy over here. Not wise guy in the mafia sense, but like super smart man, knows a lot of things. And it is about the outcome. It's not about like, hey, you must be on my team. It's about like, will you let the hostages go? It's not about like, do you like Chris Voss as a negotiator? Do you agree with what he's saying? It's about, are the people coming out of this scenario alive?
Do you find it compelling?
Exactly. There you go. I wanted to do a Bane quote there, but we'll skip over that. Mr. Zenith, final thoughts on the book on a scale of 0 to 10,000 hours on a person's journey to excellence. Doesn't necessarily have to be cryptocurrency, but just personal excellence. Where would you rate this book, and any final thoughts before we close out?
I like the book. I really do. I think it's a good one. At the same time, though, I think it is a book that I'm not going to say requires per se, but it definitely benefits from like taking it with a grain of salt and understanding where it fits specifically. Because if you try to apply these tactics very bluntly to a lot of social situations, people are just going to either think you're like mentally handicapped because you're just repeating back what they said to you, or they're going to think you're kind of a dick. But at the same time, though, you can definitely accomplish things with this. It requires that nuance, that grain of salt, that balanced approach to understand when to apply this. It's what we talked about earlier, which is this does not do the same thing as Way of the Wolf, but those books are very much in parallel, which is that they're trying to accomplish the same goal, but from different starting points and using slightly different tactics. Pretty much. So if I had to give you the 0 to 10,000 hours thing, I'd probably put this at maybe like the 500 hour mark. Like 500? It's definitely, it's good to have early on, but at the same time, I think you're going to get the most benefit out of it if you also understand that it's not the only way.
Yeah. I was going to probably say 250. So, you know, we're in the same, like, we're in the same, What's
Yeah.
the word? Order of magnitude. So there
There we go. There we go.
Yep.
Same number
I
of
agree.
zeros.
I agree. It does need to be after a little bit of life experience. You can't just like start from zero and get to and take this book and do great with it. It's good information, but I think that it's very helpful to have like real life examples of when you failed at negotiation, real life examples of when you've succeeded. Now, I do think that this book is very, very helpful. Any adult past, I would say, any adult past the age of 25, 27 probably should read it. That would be my advice. Now, on the scale of the pursuit of excellence, I will stick with my 250 hours, because I think that it's good to get in the beginning, because you'll be able to like have a multiplicative effect on the shit past that point. But you do need to have a little bit of understanding. For the folks at home who don't know, we rate books on a scale of 0 to 10,000 hours, because the whole 10,000 hour idea is like you become an expert at 10,000 hours in whatever the hell it is that you're doing. So we say, like, if a person's at nothing, or if a person's about to be an expert, like where on that sliding scale would this book best suit their purposes? And so that's the question that we often ask at the end of book club. So for the folks at home who've never heard of us talk about this before, that's where this question comes from. So we both kind of agree it should be like at the relative beginning, but you still need to get a good bit of work under your belt. You still need to get a good bit of life experience before you start delving into this book.
Yeah,
Mr. Zenith,
you read Rich
ahead.
Dad Poor Dad first, and then you read Pumping Iron by Arnold Schwarzenegger second, and then you finish off the 10,000 hours by reading research papers that are peer reviewed and stuff, and then this book is somewhere in between.
I don't
there
think
you
we've
go. This
ever
book
had
is somewhere.
had a 9,500 hour book.
No,
Probably
I would
should.
argue that the reason we have not covered any of those is because they might not be applicable to a general audience per se, and
Yeah,
might
that's
make for
true.
bad TV, if you will. But
I suppose so.
those are out there for sure. Like, how about this? I'll put there's a famous engineering textbook called Shigley's Guide to Mechanical Engineering or Mechanical Design. That is very much a 5,000 plus hour book, which is that is a book that is very, very, very hyper niche, hyper detailed, hyper technical about how to be a mechanical engineer and design things and do the math behind all that stuff. If I tried to get you to read that, you'd look at me like I was crazy, and I would understand why, because that is a terrible recommendation to a general audience.
I just want you to know I would still do it. I'd be there. If you want to
It
read
might take you a while.
if you want to read a
Nick.
charted book, I'll fucking go for it. Now, I might not do a great job. I don't guarantee that, because I don't know what I don't know. But I will say that I'd give it a go. I'd give it a shot. And I would probably use ChatGPT to summarize it and give me the juice. Give me the sauce.
I'm curious to see what ChatGPT would give me a summary for that book, because it talks about a lot very much in depth.
Give it a go, man. Give it a go.
I'll try. I'll see what we get.
And on the subject of seeing what we can get, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future, broski?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on Instagram and X, more importantly, on at ZenithDI. If you want to just send me a funny meme, send me some updates, some interesting inflation data, I will look at all of them, by the way. Yes, I am that guy that watches the entirety of the Federal Reserve press conferences in depth and tries to analyze them, and I also laugh at stupid memes. Lately, the Uma Musame horse girl anime racing game memes have been giving me a particular chuckle in the funny bone, so it's anything and everything in between. But yeah, hit me out on there, or you can join the DGen Roundtable Telegram, which is down below. Scan the QR code there. That will take you inside of our Telegram group, where you can hang out with us, ask us any questions you have, whether it's book club related, anime horse girl, casino, gambling, racing related, or crypto related, which is what we primarily do here. Which, by the way, you will catch us next on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time for our Sunday news show. By the way, this was a very big week for crypto. Not only did Bitcoin hit new all-time highs, and Ethereum is actually pumping a lot better than I was expecting, even though I've been proved many times wrong by Ethereum before. This time it proved me wrong in a direction that was beneficial for my investment portfolio. There's also crypto week going on. There was a lot of stuff that happened in the U.S. What's the word I'm looking for? In the government, the federal government, if you will. We passed three different bills, went through the Senate and the House, talking about the Genius Act, which is related to stablecoins, the Clarity Act, which is related to government regulators and what their roles are for specific cryptos, and then finally the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, which tries to secure that the United States will never have a centralized bank digital currency, which I happen to think is a poison pill that once you swallow, the only way to get past it is kind of utter collapse. But all that stuff and more is coming up on the Sunday show. Outside of that, though, we have a Wednesday show. Will, what's the Wednesday show?
So the Wednesday show, you talk about Whiskey Wednesday? Is there something?
Yes, sir.
I know we got Whiskey Wednesday. Is there something special going on this Whiskey Wednesday that I don't know about? Okay. Listen, we got a regular Whiskey Wednesday show. You set me up for failure there, broski. I was like, oh fuck, did I forget we had a guest scheduled?
I thought that was a softball. No special guests. Just the boys hanging out on stream, talking about stuff.
It should have been a softball. I should have taken that at face value, but
you're good. You're good. I see your point. I see your point.
We got Whiskey Wednesday going on, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be the next show after our Sunday news show, where we're covering some cool things. I'll go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a little bit of sauce here. We covered there's a new big dog in town on our last Sunday show, and already there's another new big dog in Ethereum town. So I'm not going to say anything more than that. But holy fuck, is the race to get the most Ethereum fucking going ham, ladies and germs. So if y'all know what I'm talking about, then you're already in the know. But if you're not in the know, then stick around for our Sunday show where we're going to be covering this sort of stuff. It's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great fun. We got Whiskey Wednesday after that. And then after Whiskey Wednesday is Friday. And on Friday, we cover book club. And be it that I am the host for this week's book club, that means that Zenith is the host for next week's book club. Broski, have you got an idea of what you're doing for book club next week?
I do. I might be on the torture plan for a bit, but I think there's another very important classic that I want to cover, which is The Wealth of Nations.
The Wealth of Nations.
One of the first macroeconomic books ever written back in the 1800s by an American. I want to say it was Adam Smith or John Smith. Pretty sure it's Adam Smith.
Oh, yeah, that'd be Adam Smith. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Not John Smith. John Smith is the guy with Pocahontas.
Thank you. Thank you for the correction there.
It could be John Smith. Fuck if I know. The Wealth of Nations. I am making that right now, believe it or not, in our DGen Roundtable Telegram for book club. Almost done. I'm going to write by Adam Smith confidently, because I presume that's who it is that wrote it. But there you guys go. If you guys aren't already a member of the DGen Roundtable Book Club, if y'all want to go check out Book Club and come be a member of the book club and see the notes that we write pre-show or our thoughts and the quotes as we are going through it, then you can go to t.me/DGen Book Club. And that's how you get into the DGen Roundtable Book Club. There's 58 of you guys watching right now, 51 on Twitter, 7 of you guys on YouTube. We appreciate each and every single one of you guys watching. For the folks at home who want to find more of what I'm doing and what I've got going on in the near future, oh, son of a bitch, I just canceled out. I have this copy and paste page on Excel that I often reference at the very end of shows and stuff, but I just deleted all of my own socials and refound them again. But you guys can find me and everything that I do off of the Pulse domain link tree, will.pls.fyi. It's got my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the YouTube channel for this thing right over here. It's going to be a good time. Come hang out. That's where that's the best way for you to get in touch with me, is off of that page right there. I'm going to Baton Rouge, and then I'm going to Florida, and then I'm coming back to Texas. So if you guys are in any of those areas, or if you're in between those areas, hit me up and I'll swing by and say hi. I'd love to buy you a beer. Whoever you might be, it's going to be a good time. I've already got.
And by the way,
meeting up with.
If you want more of Will Stevenson, head on over to the RH Max YouTube channel, where you can catch the replay of the Pulse X conference, where he was on an excellent Slavive panel on day 2 of the Pulse X conference. We really appreciate RH Max, all the support he shows to us, and we want to ensure that he is very successful in all of his endeavors. And he did leave a Quattro Cinco super chat in, I want to say, our last book club. So if you want to get him back and go hit him with a super chat copy pasta of the tragedy of Dark Plagueis the Wise, I think that would be particularly hilarious.
That would be the best. Hit him with that copy pasta. We all know that RH Max's favorite thing is people cutting and pasting things into his chat. So there you guys go. So that's the good sauce over there. You guys have already heard what's going on with the DGen Roundtable in the near future. That about covers it. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with us here on the DGen Roundtable. As Agent Jay often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate each and every single one of you guys spending that time right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Stevenson, but more importantly, you have been watching the DGen Roundtable. Mr. Producer, that's me. I should probably change the copywriting as long as I'm producer. Go ahead and get that trigger finger ready because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to DGen responsibly.